Man, let's do it.
I feel like they also get that when the ball's in the air.
Yeah.
Boom shakalaka. I believe we are live, boys.
All right.
It is football Sunday. Here we go. All right. It is fucking 9 a.m. on a Sunday. We are a half hour late. I apologize. We had some stuff going on this morning. A couple guys running late. We were supposed to go live at 8:30. I made posts about it. I apologize, but we are up now. So nonetheless,
Let's rock and roll.
we are going to be breaking down the NFL schedule for this week. We're going to try to go game by game. We're going to talk about some fantasy last minute starts and sits. I think this is extremely beneficial as well. Make sure you guys actually, for this session, we're going to have our phones on so we can get our last minute updates through ESPN, that kind of shit. We're going to try to break this down. We're going to save the Vikings game for last. We're not going to do necessarily predictions per se. We kind of talked about this all week in our pre-show meetings, if you want to call them that. But what we're going to do is kind of break down, if this team wins, this is what they're going to have to do it. If this team wins, this is what they're going to have to do it. So on and so forth. So how are you guys doing this morning, man?
Good. Really good.
I'm proud of you, Scott. I'm proud of you, Scott. Scott is a bona fide rock star. So the fact that he's up before noon.
Extremely rare. Like 11:53 is usually when the alarm's going off, and I'm checking my fantasy team for injuries or whatnot real quick, making sure that DVR's set if I pass back.
By the way, do you guys want to share this? Do you guys want me to give you the link and you can share this to your Facebooks right now?
I'm not on Facebook, but
that's right.
yeah.
Do you want one?
Sure, go for it.
Okay, I'll just Facebook it to you real quick.
Now you got to share with me the secret. What's the secret? How do you manage to sleep and wake up at 11:53? We were talking about this. I want to know the secret because that's the goal, man. Wake up at 11:53, 7 minutes, make the coffee or tea.
A lot of times I'm not even home before 3 a.m. So like that's a big part, and it's just the math.
Yeah.
Okay,
so I did the security life, and that come bar close.
Yeah.
I'm out of the bar probably 3 a.m.
Your Facebook account is still active.
Dark
You're just
room.
not on it.
Dark room,
Correct.
White noise.
Yeah.
Dark room with white noise. That's what works for me.
We talking TV white noise?
A fan.
Okay, just ambiance in the background.
Yep,
okay,
yep,
all right.
Yep. And then dark room, if that light's coming through those blinds, no.
Yeah.
that ain't gonna work.
Because I tried all this, and I get home, go to bed at 3:30, wake up at 8:50. Try it.
What's with your Facebook pic of Zeke? Zeke Elliott.
It's just a hilarious.
Have you seen? You're not on Facebook. I'm going to show you. As I'm sorry, guys. We're setting this up.
That picture was taken of him last year when they played the Vikings in that prime time game. And on the sideline, just sitting there looking all stupid.
He's going like this.
Yeah, and I just thought it was I rewound it. On
it looks
TV.
like he shit his pants. That's what that face looks like. Like he just went, I just shit.
It's like a screenshot from pausing my TV.
The face he's making is that he just gambled and lost on a fart on the sideline.
Right, okay, let's rock and roll, man.
We're gonna get there. You chill, bud.
Let's get it going.
All right, I tagged you.
Look,
I tagged you so
I'm
you can just reshare.
On the ADD fans who just want to get to the nuts and bolts here, man.
All right, so we're going to get this started when I say, because it's my show, Anwar, I don't care how big you are, you may be able to beat me up.
This has nothing to do with anything.
All right, so here's the deal. Texans-Titans, this is an interesting one because we've already played both these teams. So let's start with the fantasy shit real quick. We don't have to go through the fucking roster and break this down Paul Charchian style. We don't have to go that crazy. But if there's any names that stand out to you guys that you should start or sit from either of those teams, let's start there. Like a Deshaun Watson, no more Bill O'Brien. Is that a guy?
Well, you know what?
You know what I mean? Because this is the shit people want to know.
Got it. Mm-hmm. But he succeeded under Bill O'Brien for his entire career. So I don't think... Now, when we get into guys like Brandon Cooks, right? What happened last week? Could it have been emotions? Who knows? But... Brandon Cooks, I think, had, 8 catches, 130, 140 from having a combined, I think that for the entire season.
Yep.
So is Brandon Cooks a guy to start? The question is, well, how good is the Titans defense?
Exactly. For me, it's always a matchup.
Yeah.
Excuse me. And as far as Deshaun Watson goes, the thing I've been disappointed with him from a fantasy standpoint, not that I've really had much stocks in him at all this year. I went more the Kyler Murray route because I followed DeAndre
Same
Hopkins.
here too.
Like you mentioned how he's had success his whole career with Bill O'Brien, but that was also with DeAndre Hopkins.
Of course,
up until this year. So and with the awkward, preseason training camp, all that stuff being unlike any other year this year with COVID and stuff, didn't have the same opportunities to gel with new pieces and establish chemistry and timing and all that stuff, which is especially important between quarterbacks and wide receivers. Cooks primarily a wide receiver. But then you've also got like tight end Akins getting kind of stepping into that number one role over Fells.
Being put over, to use a wrestling term.
Cootie and Stills, and Fuller isn't new, but his role is new. So there's a lot of new elements.
Well, Fuller's biggest issue is staying healthy.
Absolutely,
right?
Absolutely.
If he plays 16 games, the guy probably goes well over 1,100 yards receiving. Right, big playability.
Yes, I was
has been,
that.
But always just that kind of Terry Glenn of our generation so far. Right, went on the field very deadly, but can you get him on the field? Is he out for extended time? I got to go with Will Fuller. I think Will Fuller is a great pickup right now. Let's look at the Vikes. Could we pass against Tennessee?
Yeah, we did.
Of course we did, right?
Passed all over them, which was actually surprising to me from not a fantasy standpoint, but just from a schematic standpoint. That defense does not look as good as it was a year ago. And I don't know enough about the Tennessee ins and outs. I don't have enough time to deep dive every single team, but they must have either lost some pieces or lost a coach or something, because something's off.
Well, I mean, they're 4-0.
Tennessee defense?
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like they lost some of their secondary. I feel like they lost
or a coach or something went
guys. Down. I know one dude I liked a lot last year, Ryan Logan. Logan Ryan. I know he was a free agent this offseason.
He was
But I felt like they lost him and possibly one other guy in their secondary. But when I look at the numbers here quick, one thing that jumps out to me about the Titans defense, their run defense is giving up 5.5 yards per carry. Yeah. That is dead last in the league by like over half a yard. That's insane. That's unheard of.
Especially coming from them, a team that runs so heavy, you'd think week to week in practice they'd be getting better at stopping the run.
That tells me that the
Texans, when the Vikes had Adrian Peterson, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That says to me that the Texans, even though they're not particularly known for being a strong running team this year, should have an easier time of being a balanced offense and attack today due to the Titans' inability to stop the run. So like even though it's not directly like pass statistics, I think that run weakness is going to open things up in general for the Texans offense a little more than maybe expected. So Watson, if he's your starter, you have to start Watson. But if you're someone who, got Rodgers in the late rounds or something, or if you've got a strong backup, you can definitely consider them. But if Watson's your guy, I think you roll him and you feel fine about him.
In our league, Anwar, now, we have a weird point system. We get rewarded heavily for big plays. I think, by the way, you did a great job setting up the scoring system in this league. It's awesome. The more and more I look at it and understand it, it makes fucking sense. It's like, first of all, there's no PPR in this bullshit, right? So we're not giving advice based on specific style leagues. We're just giving general fantasy advice. But the reason I like this, just side note, the reason I like the scoring system in your league is because what Anwar did is okay, you made 10 catches for 10 yards. You shouldn't get 11 points for that. You didn't do shit, right? Okay, you had one catch for 50 yards, but it was a fucking huge play and it was a touchdown. Blah, 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 blah. You get extra points for that because that weighs heavy on the game. Yep. So when I'm looking at this, so granted, our scoring system's a little different. The worst game he's had was that Baltimore game. At 17.45 points.
Who are we talking about?
Deshaun Watson.
Yeah.
He had one touchdown in that game, but he's been ramping up. The last 3 weeks, Pittsburgh, Minnesota, and Jacksonville, he's gotten better and better and better, and that defense doesn't necessarily, like you guys both kind of said, doesn't. So I think Watson's a guy you got to start. He just put up 32 points.
Who we missing though?
He's your guy, you play him.
Yeah, but
I'm not spending daily fantasy money on him. For
you know what
not
though?
This week.
You don't think he's like a sneaky sleeper?
Value. No, I'd get better value. He's still going to be, probably in that 6,500 range where I could get somebody.
Here's my thing with Deshaun Watson. All league offense is up, right? Passing offenses are up. Why? Because you throw a bunch of rookies in the lineup. You got no preseason. There's no way to iron out the kinks. Realistically, this would be like the start of the season, right? Where what did we see last week? Again, I'm not going to digress, but Minnesota finally.
So you're almost treating the first 4 games like a preseason.
Because scoring is up across the league.
That makes sense. Yeah, you're just now starting to.
This year.
You're just now starting to see teams come into their own.
That's every year, and it's magnified with COVID circumstances this year.
True.
Now, it's true. Scoring offenses, passing has been up ever since they adjusted the rules. But one thing to take into account is Deshaun Watson is a winner. He competes, right? He just does. And if you have Deshaun Watson, you have a chance to win. Now, I think the difference with this offense is they took more chances. They spread the ball a lot more last game. I look for the same thing with Deshaun Watson. Now, as far as the Titans' run defense, I mean, I think 181 came against Dalvin Cook. Is that what was that the Dalvin Cook blow-up game?
Both teams
Tennessee
have bad run defense. Statistically, so
I mean, it could have been 181, but I know both him and Jefferson put up 175 at least.
Yeah. So the beauty about this though is
those cold, by the way.
Meh.
The kind of warm. The beauty about what we get to see now is because we have such a small sample. We can understand, well, how come the Titans give up 5.5? Well, Dalvin Cook was a big reason for that, right?
Right.
So I'll take Dalvin, right? Who else, right? Who else, the matchup. So do they have a bad run defense, or do they just come across some really good studs?
Okay,
we saw that was Seattle last week. Seattle statistically.
Well, hold on. Let's stay on this game.
Yeah, okay.
Let's stay on this game. So here,
run defense.
Yeah.
Right. And the Dalvin Cook is a good reference. So you've got Derrick Henry today. He's got to be an obvious start going on the other side, right? Because we did that against Houston as well. We looked fine.
You're all in on Derrick Henry.
All in.
Now, what about David Johnson, the Houston running back?
Watching David Johnson, here's what I get.
He looks very disappointing this season.
But David Johnson.
But this has got to be a good game for him, right?
His breakout year, and for all the people who.
It was his rookie year, right?
Maybe his second year.
Okay.
Right? Arizona.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
His breakout year, he did everything. He caught pass. I don't mean screen passes. I don't mean the glorified.
No, he was running routes like a Marshall Faulk.
LaDainian Thomas catches 100 catches. 70 of them are like within 5 yards line of scrimmage. People are he's a great receiver. No, he's great at catching 5-yard passes. Right. There's a difference.
Yep.
Right?
He's good at catching passes in his armpit.
Right. So,
which is a skill, by the way.
No, but so watching him play his second year, his first year as a starter, he was devastating out of the backfield because he ran wheel routes. He lined up as a wide receiver. And more importantly, he had a certain burst. He was a stronger runner, right? I watched a couple of games this year, and I didn't see the same guy. I saw Edgerrin James after the knee surgery.
Right.
Yes. Yep.
Serviceable, right, on a good team. But
he's projected to get 12 points today.
Are you starting him? Say about David Johnson. If he's on my fantasy team, like my yearly fantasy team, he is a flex option depending on what the rest of my roster looks like.
Well, let's throw this out there. If you're in a 12-man league and he's on your you have to start him. You don't have a choice. Everybody's injured.
Yeah.
He ain't going to be my RB2, but he might be my flex.
Dude, he's somebody's RB1 in our league. That's how thin running backs are.
That's a bad draft.
Well,
no, it's not.
So,
that's all he's got.
So let's talk about
everyone else is injured.
In a very competitive draft with about 8 slots on your roster or your bench, you have running backs that are handcuffed, right? So you don't the amount of running backs is like you have to wait for someone to get injured because they're all taken. All of them, right? And with the amount of injuries that have taken place, you roll the dice on someone like Marlon Mack. You take him in the third round because it looks like a great pick, and he's going to start. The Colts run the ball and have arguably one of the best offenses, not digressing, but he gets injured.
Yep.
But somebody else was smart because they people are higher on rookie running backs than ever, right? We've always known rookie running backs, easiest position to come in and dominate.
Absolutely.
100%.
So
I wanted to talk about that running back position. So what I've learned about the running back position, it's a position where you have to have that eye of the tiger, right? I say that because you can't be complacent. What happens with every running back seems to get that payday, with the exception of Dalvin Cook, right? And he got an extension. Okay, but when you look at all these running backs.
This is a great take he's had for years that I still don't hear anybody say.
So when you look at these running backs, what they have to have a certain, that fast twitch, that need to prove themselves, it has to be at an all-time high. The minute they get paid and get lackadaisical, it shows in their play, right?
Yep.
There's a hunger. So like somebody like Le'Veon Bell who goes to Kansas City.
Hold on, I want to pause you because there's something you're leaving out here.
No, I haven't gotten there yet. So when you think about this, you can prove this with the draft, right? So all these big colleges, they have their names on the line. So what do? They get this guy in the best shape of their life. And their rookie season, whether it's Eddie Lacy, I can go down the list of running backs. Trent
I think
Richardson,
that's the best example, though, is
right?
Eddie Lacy.
Where if you were a Wisconsin fan, you thought you had yourself a lock at a running back. And then what takes place? His second year, right?
I'm sorry, I just thought of Eddie Lacy sitting at a Culver's drive-through somewhere. Right
Sonic
now.
Burger, as a matter of fact, getting his spicy chicken sandwich. I read this. Okay, so you got a guy like Eddie Lacy who is so ripped, you see striations in his core. That means he's got no jiggle down there. This is Eddie Lacy, and this is a guy who within 2 years would go from looking like being in the greatest shape of his life to the worst. And the issue is,
that motherfucker looked like Herschel Walker when he came out of college.
Like Herschel Walker, like that dude. Like he was incredible
shape,
shape,
looking like Monty Ball.
Nice.
So
I was gonna go Natron Means.
Okay, or back like that, right?
Or who's the old Kansas City?
Bam Morris, right?
Or who's that old
Christian Okoye?
Christian Okoye.
No, he was stout, man. He was stout, man.
I got one for you. Cortez Kennedy, Seattle Seahawks. You remember that big motherfucker, 300-pound running back? He had feet the size of the elephant.
Look, but you got to come into the league and you got to maintain. So when you look at guys who really benefited or excelled, look at an Adrian Peterson. Why does he excel so long? Because these guys take the offseason serious. They come back. They don't lose any of that fast twitch. Even watching Elliott this year. Elliott is pretty good, but that rookie season, he was a danger to touch the ball. I don't know that I feel that way about him anymore. Is he a good running back? Is he a must start? Yes. But he's not the same back. He lacks that wiggle.
He looked great against Atlanta.
No, you know what? He looked.
Everyone looks great against Atlanta.
I wouldn't even say great. Like when you look at great, what I'm watching Dalvin Cook do, that's a top running back, and that's top 3.
I mean, without Christian
productive
and great,
without Christian McCaffrey,
a lot of people can't see that.
Yes, sir.
They see productive, and that's great.
Edgerrin James was productive. Was he great?
Nick Chubb is productive.
Nick Chubb is great. Right, Nick Chubb. Oh man, look, if you watch him play,
Chubb's out though.
He's out.
That's different.
Yeah. Okay. Anyway. So let's do this. Because
David Johnson.
We got a lot of games to get through.
Good about starting David Johnson.
We got to. Yeah. Hold on. Let's do this.
I can close out the Texans' offense here real quick.
Let's do it. Yeah.
Well, hold on. Let's close out the fantasy side of things real quick.
That's what I was going to do. I think Cooks is a great value this week. He's less than $6,000 on daily, and he just clicked last week now. Fuller's healthy.
Okay, that's what I want to get at. So let's do this.
Aikens tight end, if you're looking for a really good value, sleepy.
That's what I'm asking. Okay, so that's what I want you to do.
Tight end Aikens.
That's what I want you to do. I want
him up on your waiver wire for your yearly league if you don't have him and need a backup tight end yet. Like he's legit.
Okay, yep. This is what I want to do as we wrap up each game. As we wrap up each game, I want to go starts, sits, and then sneaky sleepers. If they like tell somebody like you just said. Cooks, if for some reason he's available, grab him on the free agent wire. Might be a good value. You guys can either each do these and throw your own takes on them, or one of you can take a team and the other one can do the other team. So you did Texans. Do you want to do Titans? Is there anybody that sticks out? Starts, sits, and sleepers. Obviously, I think
we're seeing the emergence of a star tight end, right, coming out.
You talking about
Smith. Jonnu Smith.
Are you talking about Tennessee?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. So Jonnu Smith, I think he's a must start in all leagues. I think he established himself as a top tier tight end. You can't go wrong with obviously the running back. Led the league in rushing last season. Obviously, you can't go wrong with Derrick Henry. Derrick Henry, what we know, he's going to give you touches because they know what they are. They know that they are a run first team and that play action pass, just like the Vikings. Only goes as far as the run goes. So they commit to the run. Derrick Henry a must start. Wide receiver standpoint, can't think of anybody.
I'm just looking here.
AJ
right
Brown
now
is still out. Still out.
Okay.
Yeah.
What about Tannehill at QB, guys?
Tannehill right now, he's becoming what Alex Smith was in Kansas City. He's becoming a guy. He's probably available in a lot of leagues.
Yeah, maybe start him if you got your quarterback on a bye.
If you feel like you need a safe play, Tannehill has really established himself as one of those players who can be a safe play, right?
Yeah, I think you're right because in our league, again, weird scoring system, but he's got 22 points, 30 points, 18 points, and 32 points.
Yeah, I was thinking 25 average.
That's what I was going to say. On DraftKings, he's averaging 23 points a game.
Yep, there you go.
Really good according to theirs.
That's a solid.
And
how much is it exactly? Under $6,000.
He's like the.
And what's your budget?
He's like $50,000.
Okay.
So
like
with
15th, 12th,
and you pick what, 8 players, or is it how many players do you start?
2 running backs, 2.
And if anybody's ever played,
8 tight end, a flex, and a defense.
If anybody's ever played DraftKings, understand the value.
9 with a defense.
Yeah.
8 players and
9. With a D.
Oh, that was the other thing. Do you start Tennessee's defense today?
I actually think this is probably going to be a high-scoring game with bad defensive play on both sides, and so
fade both defenses.
Yeah, I would personally.
All right. So next game, do you guys, when we do this, or actually we got to do this on the actual play-by-play side. So so if the Texans are going to win, here's what I think is going to happen: is you're going to watch. Because here's how I look at football, you guys, and people can mock me if you want, but my track record on this shit is surprisingly solid, which is why both of you guys respect my opinion at least. Because I don't always fuck you. I don't always deep dive. I mean, I understand the scheme, the X's and O's, and sometimes I will get into that shit. But one thing that I prioritize that a lot of people don't respect is the human element, the will. Right? The drive, that kind of shit. Now, I understand when you're part of a team environment, the mood in the locker room can be contagious, infectious, disease-ridden, uplifting, motivation, all that kind of shit, right? So you got a team in the Texans without a Bill O'Brien. Now, last week they didn't have Bill O'Brien either, and I think they finally won their first game, right?
Typically speaking, when coaches are fired early on in the season, the team usually responds really well the following week, which we'll
exactly
get to that later
exactly.
Anyway.
Now, here's why I say this is because usually the following week there's a hangover. Okay, so you get your coach fired, you have a big emotional, motivational fucking week because your job's now on the line because it's like, here's how this works for anybody that's confused. Your boss just got fired. He got blamed for all your failures. He's gone now, which means if you still suck, now it's on you. So these motherfuckers are playing for their jobs. So they gave everything they had last week, and usually there's an emotional hangover. And so I actually anticipate Tennessee winning this game. I think Vrabel's a great coach. I'm going full human element here. They've got consistency. They got stability.
And
they're playing better and better football. They're at home. It's outdoors on grass against a team that's not used to that, a dysfunctional team that's disease-ridden without their best offensive playmaker in Hopkins. And Watt is not the guy he used to be. That defense is not what it used to be. So I'm taking Titans, and I don't think it's going to be close. It may be high scoring, maybe low scoring, but I'm taking Titans. I think they're going to win it on the human element. I just think that's how it's going to be. And if the Texans are going to win, it's going to be because Deshaun Watson goes full Michael Jordan on this game, to use the Jeff Gruden reference.
Absolutely. If the Titans win, if the Texans were to pull off the upset, because the Titans have the human element going for them, I agree with that you said. I also think they're the better team, just coming in playing simple.
And you guys can break it down however you want. If you want to go scheme matchups.
If the Texans are going to win, it's likely going to be in a high-scoring affair with poor defensive play on both sides of the ball. maybe getting a turnover break here and there, because that is the great equalizer in every game, every week, is the plus-minus ratio with takeaways and giveaways.
Yeah, and we're not trying to be John Madden here, guys.
No,
Whoever
sorry.
scores more points usually wins.
But I mean,
Yeah, no shit,
but
John.
the Texans could easily find. It is very possible that the Texans could find themselves in a position where they're in a one-score game late in the fourth quarter and they have the ball with a chance to win. That's extremely conceivable.
If that happens, it's
said-
going to be all Watson.
Correct. That said, I think safe money is on the Titans winning and winning comfortably.
Don't they have a receiver named
So-
Kiki Cutie?
Yes, absolutely.
I think
Yep.
I think that's what I thought. I was
Yep.
pretty sure about that.
Yep.
Yeah, I think Waller's got to not Waller. I think Fuller's got to have a big game.
But
I think he's got to have a big game.
Well, I mean,
I've got Titans one last thing, and then I'll let you.
Oh, yeah, go for it.
I've got Titans to win confidently, and then I'm pretty sure I got them to cover the spread too. So I was going to check.
You might be cutting off. Say that into the mic.
Oh, sorry. I've got the Titans to cover the 5.5 point spread as well. Like,
We
that's what my
heard
money
you.
on is the Titans should win and win comfortably. Anyway, that's all I
Yeah,
have. to throw
you
in.
know-
You're good, dude. You're good. We heard you loud and clear, but
Yep, no,
yeah,
I pulled
sometimes-
away. Looking at
sometimes
looking
with
at
the
the phone,
gate,
I
it's
pulled
dude.
away.
We're still working out the kinks, guys. All right, so
and the mic stand needs
How
an
you
extra
breaking
shot of
this down?
Viagra.
so looking at the Texans and Titans, the question that we always have when you go through a firing, was it really the coach, right? Sometimes the disease is based on, just like life, if you break it down just by people, propaganda, right? And understand the locker room is always going to be divided. Everybody doesn't hate them, but if enough of the right players, right, complain and speak out. So Bill O'Brien was a great head coach. I think before he came to the Texans, I don't think they had won a playoff game. And I think we looked that up a couple weeks ago.
no, it's 100% correct. They've
So-
never even been to the playoffs.
He went in and he established kind of a certain culture there, right? Bend but don't break team, a lot like the Vikes. That's why if you look at the amount of fourth quarter comebacks, i.e. Deshaun Watson, you saw a lot of that. You saw the same from this guy, when he played for Clemson. So, but right now, if he's a leader, if he's going to put his Jordan thing on, the question is, how do you get your guys ready to play, right? Is it going to be a hangover, or is it going to be, now we're going to let the,
You incentivize them with hookers and blow. That's what you got to do at this point. That's the Love Boat style. Vikings
Watson
Love
is a
Boat
pretty-
style. It's the only way they're going to get their shit together.
Look, but at this point, though, if you have a great organization, you'll
You guys
figure
just-
this out. You'll figure it out, right?
Joke.
Sorry, I finally
Sorry.
got around to doing that thing you wanted me to do 25 minutes ago.
What was
Sorry.
that?
Sharing the
Oh, I
link.
tagged you. It's all good.
Okay. So, I think the Texans will pull this off.
Okay. All right. So
Nice.
here's the deal.
Nice, I love it.
We're
Don't
doing
let the
very
upset.
good.
Sweet.
We're doing very good, but that took a half hour, and we got
But that was
way
intros
more.
too.
True. So we got a lot of games to get through. So let's try to pick up the pace just a touch
No
here.
worries.
I don't want to rush us because the whole thing's supposed to be chill and fun, but I also don't want to get halfway through this and fucking have to shit the bed.
We're pretty good.
So let's do the same thing. Lions, Jaguars. So Scotty, you go first. Actually, Anwar, you go first. Let's go round table this way.
Yeah. Okay. So again,
Fantasy side, starters, sleepers, sits, and you can either do both teams or just pick one, and then you can flip side them, and then I'll fill in the gaps.
I mean, let's talk about what it means to be an historically bad organization.
Which
we
one?
got two of them.
I said which one?
You know what, though? I'm going to have to honestly say the Lions. The Jaguars, I think
The Lions, the Jaguars were just in an AFC championship.
and they've been
game.
there.
They've been to
And they've been there
multiple
before,
ones.
and they put together some pretty good teams. Fred Taylor, days and whatnot. David Gerard.
means.
Yeah,
They've won playoff games.
yeah, they have.
Byron Leftwich even winning.
Keep
playoff
going,
games?
keep going. Another quarterback.
Jimmy Smith and Keenan McCardell.
I know.
Mark Brunell.
No, keep going. Keep going. You got to go further in time. I mean, further ahead
I
of
think
time.
Mark
Brunell
Brunell
was the
was
first one.
No.
yeah.
I'm talking about recently.
Blake
Gerard.
Bortles. Blake Bortles. He
Before
was
him.
the,
David Gerard, right? Before there was ever Blake
sure.
Bortles.
Yeah.
David Gerard came
I
out of the
remember
Byron Leftwich era.
Yeah. I
Yeah,
remember
but
that.
he eventually took over, right? And they
That
were
was
successful team.
with who was the fucking coach back then? It wasn't Del Rio. That was the Panthers coach. Or was it the Jaguars coach?
I think he was the Jaguars.
He was the Jaguars coach. That was Del Rio. That was our guy. That was Jack Del Rio, Vikings linebacker.
So, but typically the Lions have failed to succeed because they've been a poorly run organization since the Fords have taken over. Just for example, why would
did they take over, by the way? Like 1961?
Give or take, right?
I think they started
never
that team.
won a title.
I think they've always owned
so
that
they never
team.
won a title.
They're perennial. They're bad news bears.
And the question is why? I mean, let's think about what they do. So you go out there, the name of the game, great organizations develop talent, right? What did the Lions do? They went out there and they got themselves a Pro Bowl corner. And what do? They trade him. And who do they take in the draft? A cornerback who's been getting roasted out there in the secondary, that same cornerback, right? So what's the purpose of it? Why, if you found a guy, you develop that guy, you re-sign him now. Mm-hmm. But why didn't he want to play? Why didn't he didn't want to stay in Detroit? And my theory is because they have no idea how to treat their players.
Are you talking about Darius Slay?
Darius Slay, yes, sir. Right.
I mean, he was getting old. He was getting older. He's been there. I mean, dude, he's been in the league 7-8 years.
Darius Slay just came off of a pretty good season last year. I don't think he was showing.
But look who,
okay, so let's say he's 27 years old. Either way, when you are Detroit, the last problem you have right now is cornerback. Okay, let's talk about that old line. Let's talk about playmakers. There's so many directions they could have gone with that pick, but to trade that pick or to trade that player and then draft a guy in the same position who I felt is not as good, we're talking talent. You develop talent, you keep talent. So if you have a guy like a Darius Slay who's managed to build a name for himself, this is the issue with this organization. Barry Sanders decides he's going to retire. What was he going to do? Prior to the Ravens game, he would have been the first running back to go 10 straight seasons of 1,500 plus yards. He retires. What do they try to do? They try to recoup his signing bonus. Megatron also says, I'm done. What do they try to do? They try to recoup his signing bonus. Signing bonuses for all you people listening, that's guaranteed money. That's guaranteed. Okay? Guaranteed. It doesn't. If I want to retire, you're going to pay me that money. But the same with Darius Slay, right? You look at how they treat their players and you come to this understanding that they don't know how to keep players in, and the players that leave, I mean, you heard the names. So the Lions have a lot to work on. I'm going with the Jaguars. Because the Lions, Matthew Stafford may be the most underrated, overrated quarterback ever. Okay, that's all
brilliant.
That's all I hear, right? And maybe so.
That's brilliant.
But at the end of the day, the Lions are just a disease franchise. And what are they? One game this year? Are they 1-4?
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Sounds about normal.
Found a way to lose that week one. Who do you?
They're ranked below us in the division.
I don't mean to backtrack at all, but while I was looking at fantasy stuff for this matchup, I did happen to stumble across
Galladay.
the fact that A.J. Brown in our last matchup does not have an injury designation today and looks like he is a full go for the Titans.
I'm starting A.J. Brown.
So if you got Titans, I would say anybody on a Titans offense.
Down.
But anyway, back to Jags Lions.
Yeah, break this down fantasy style because he went deep dive on the culture there.
Well, he went and
that's
more
fine.
on
No, that's fine.
He took kind of more of the game outcome and play and stuff.
Yeah, and the culture. He broke down the history and the culture.
From a fantasy standpoint, I started out looking at the Jags offense to the Lions defense matchup. James Robinson, running back for the Jaguars against the Lions today is an absolute must start. Like, we're talking 30 points. Lions are second to last in fantasy points against running backs allowed.
What about AP?
So that's amazing. Get to the Lions yet in just a second.
Oh yeah, got it. Go for it.
The Jaguars receivers also have a really good matchup. Detroit ranks 21st fantasy-wise against opposing receivers. That said, ironically, the Detroit Lions defense somehow ranks second for fewest fantasy points allowed to opposing quarterbacks this year. So Gardner Minshew is not a strong play today, at least on paper going into it. But like I said, the receivers seem to be a decent play. I like Keelan Cole there a lot, with Chark still questionable. But I think James Robinson is your huge play there.
Westbrook?
I would almost go more on Chark Jr. if he's able to play than Westbrook.
Yeah.
I think Westbrook is kind of the odd man out in that rotation when everyone's healthy. And so if you are going to go Westbrook, you're definitely relying on Chark still. You got to check Chark's injury status right up till kick time if you're going to go that route. But that might be a nice sneaky value pick there as well.
What about my boy Laviscus Chenault?
He's building some momentum.
If you need a flex option because of bye
in a deep 12-man league,
matchups in a deep 12-man league, then Chenault is worth looking at. Because he can get yards on the ground too with his legs. Like,
dude, when he has,
he's a wiggler.
When he has the ball in his hand, I've talked to you about this on the phone.
Catch, but even reverses.
Yeah.
Like,
dude, when they line him up in the backfield or they give him on a jet sweep, and I watch that man run behind his blockers, I've talked to you about this on the telephone. He looks like Le'Veon Bell, dude. Like his running, the way he moves his body when he's running, he looks like Le'Veon Bell. He's got that same. He runs with his shoulders square, his head forward. You know what I mean? He's not one of those fucking guys who drops his head and tries to like dip his shoulders. He runs very square and upright, which normally is a disaster for guys that size. They get clobbered. But when you got a guy with that kind of vision and that kind of wiggle, I'm telling you, in a year or two, this guy Laviska, as long as he stays healthy and Jacksonville understands how to utilize him, because if he's on a Pittsburgh, if he's on a New England, he's already putting up big fantasy.
He's like a San Francisco's version of what?
He's a unique weapon. He's not a traditional wide receiver.
No, Samuels. That's what he reminds me of. A lot of Debo Samuels, right?
Sure, with the Niners.
Yeah. I didn't mean to interrupt your fantasy shit. I just had to ask about him because I actually have that guy.
Most of your Jaguar matchups are pretty good today, with the exception of Minshew. But he's always an X factor anyway, in my opinion.
All right, what about the Detroit side?
On the Detroit side, I just looked at passing yards allowed per game, rushing yards allowed per game, and points allowed per game for the Detroit defense. The best they rank in all three of those categories is 25th out of 32. I mean, the Jaguars, the Jaguars. Misspoke there. So if you've got Kenny Golladay, if you need to start a Stafford, they're strong plays.
What about
Marvin Jones might be a consideration. If you need a deeper wide receiver or a flex option.
Amendola
is another possible option. I've got TJ Hawkinson sitting on my bench today, and I'm seriously contemplating throwing him in my starting lineup yet, because he's been more involved here this year, looking more like the first-round draft pick they drafted him to be.
Yeah.
And so I think he's another strong player. I think pretty much, I would shy away from the Lions running backs, Swift and AP, and carry on my wayward Johnson. Thank you.
Carry on my wayward Johnson.
Sorry, I just had to. That's the one element of that offense that I just don't really trust.
Don't you love hanging out with white people?
Yeah. But Patricia seems to trust
Don't you love hanging out with white people and all our dad jokes
on there?
Probably
going to be points.
I hear dad. I'm a dad, man.
This
I hear him.
is another one that we could see a lot of mutual ineptitude defensively on both sides of the ball, resulting in a lot of points.
A question for you.
Total. So if that's one of your better options in your year league, or if you're looking for daily fantasy, then yeah.
So question for you then.
About the Lions backs.
When you talk about even the DraftKings spin on it, this is one of those games where, you could every so often, whether it's basketball or football, sometimes it isn't about it's picking one game, right? Where like literally sometimes in a game like this, thinking outside of the box, one game could be take this player. I mean, because when you think about value picks, so one of the things we did with DraftKings is we made a scoring system, and we determined that if you take somebody high, right, like let's say a max player, they have to have a stat line that is beyond phenomenal. They have to have an outstanding game to, so the whole name of the game is finding that value, right? So 100%. in a game like this, to me, this is make or break for the Lions. If the Lions are going to turn it around this year, this is the game. If they don't win this game, then I think we're going to start hearing, Patricia, even though I don't think they should, but this is what they're going to hear, right? Because now as far as Adrian Peterson, they seem to be committed to running the ball.
Don't doubt Adrian.
Right? I mean, I think he's had, what is it? I think he's had the most carries by far. I think 75% of the carries have gone to Adrian Peterson. So Patricia seems to, I watched one game and he looked like the best running back on the field. Still, right now.
No,
so
he's a beast. I got one last fantasy angle real quick that I want to throw in there, primarily from daily, but it translates to year-long too. I think this is one of the games on the whole docket that has like the highest overall points total.
This one.
Yeah, this one. Even because both defenses stink. Usually that results in a lot of points being scored. You don't need great offenses necessarily to always score a lot of points in a game.
True.
That said, neither team is like sexy or popular or anything like that. So especially from a daily standpoint, there's probably a lot of points to be had in this game.
I see what you're saying there.
Yeah. Other people are going to be missing out on.
Agreed.
Because
So
they're
you could go
taking
grab
players from the more sexy games.
So you could
like
go
the
grab
Browns
a
versus
Stafford.
Steelers, or Ravens are playing the Eagles. I got to get Lamar.
So to take both your takes.
So this is a really sneaky game to pull a lot of points out of for value.
So to take both your takes, smash them together for cavemen like me. Basically, you could go in and grab a Stafford at a much lower value and potentially get as much, if not more points, meaning more value, than, say, going and grabbing a Patrick Mahomes, who's going to cost you a fucking fortune and give you literally probably the same points or even less than a Stafford today. Yep. And the value won't be there.
Exactly.
So that would be, out of those two rosters, potentially you're going to have a great value pickup there and have a chance at winning a daily fantasy league. Now, I'm going to take that and run with that as my segue, and I'm actually kind of piggyback off of what you said. Not only do I agree with you wholeheartedly about the Lions' diseased franchise, but they also have the Jerry Jones effect going on, which is something that I think is the key marker for a diseased franchise. You have a meddling owner, in the Fords, meaning they will pressure you to start a guy or sign a guy or draft a guy for ticket sales, not because he's the best player available necessarily. Now, I believe wholeheartedly that Matt Patricia came out of that Belichick system and understands how to run the deal. You guys follow me?
Yep.
Okay. So what I mean by this is I don't have a problem with him getting rid of a 29 to 30-year-old Darius Slay who is at the end of his contract and they're going to have to overpay for a guy who maybe has 1 year left. I don't have a problem with that, especially with the way it works. You lose a big name all-pro free agent like that. What do they pick up as a compensatory pick on that? Like a third rounder?
Yeah, that's usually where you're.
That's good value there.
Good
that's good value there. You got a defensive head coach that's going to come in and he's trying to build a system. So for 2 years in a row, he's drafted some pretty damn decent defensive talent. Mm-hmm. Now, you might say the guy they drafted, like Anwar brought up, isn't good enough to where they drafted him. But again, look at what we did with Trey Waynes and Anthony Barr. These are character guys that fit the system. And Mike Zimmer thought they were coachable, right? So that's what I think Patricia's trying to do over there. However, the reason I'm saying this and setting it up this way is because I don't think the ownership has enough fucking balls to allow him to do his fucking job. So they're going to meddle, they're going to get in his shit, and they're not going to have the patience to, and I got proof for this. I have proof for this. Jim Schwartz turned around an 0-16 Lions team.
I like Jim Schwartz.
And brought him to the fucking playoffs for the first time in forever. And because they lost that game, they fucking fired him and brought in Jim fucking Caldwell, the guy who ruins good teams.
Well, and then
he took over for Tony Dungy in Indianapolis and got fired because he ruined the Colts.
They went 15-1 in the Super Bowl.
Wasn't Caldwell still 9-7 his final year that he got canned from there too?
That's what I'm saying.
He was.
He'll take a winning team. He piggybacked off Dungy and Manning, went to a second Super Bowl, but lost to the Saints. That was that year. That's Bounty Gate year, right? They lost to the Saints, and like a year or two later, he lost his job. Jim Schwartz gets fired. He comes into Detroit. Okay? I think he was actually already the offensive coordinator, but even if he wasn't, it's irrelevant. He brings it in. He takes over a fucking playoff team, takes them. They haven't been back to the playoffs since. My point is that when they have a good coach like a Matt Patricia, The Ford family, I don't trust them to keep them and let them do their job and build a system like the Wilfs have done with Zimmer. They're leaving and staying out of Spielman and Zimmer's business and going, you just fucking make us competitive, right? Make your arguments for how you want, but I'm going with Anwar on this one. The organization is diseased. They don't have the fucking patience. If they don't win this game, you're going to start hearing Matt Patricia's head being called. And I think it's a bad move. I think it's a diseased organization. It comes from the top down. That's their culture. That's their system.
I got a question.
It's a bad deal.
Yeah.
How old? So kind of going back, and I want to stress this idea about how to handle players. Okay, so
next game up, Ravens, Eagles.
Okay,
so you
okay.
can
So
pull your info.
Okay.
So going back to even the Slay situation, realize something. The guy was a 3-time Pro Bowler, All Pro last year. You look at the numbers he put up, not even from a numbers standpoint, but just from what this guy stands for, right? If we can keep a guy, now you look at Minnesota, right? Now is Harrison Smith, is he the same player he was? I'll still take it. Harrison Smith is my point at free safety, right? I'll still take him regardless of how old he is at this point. What does he bring to a locker room? So you take a veteran like a Darius Slay, 29 years old, and honestly, guys are playing longer than ever. So the whole thing about shelf life being 30 for a cornerback, that's antiquated. These guys are playing a lot longer now. You don't re-sign them, and you go out there with all these holes you have on your team and sign another cornerback that is not making your team better. So again, not only to me is it bad GMing, but it's just a prime example of how a team, how a culture can affect the overall disposition of a team like the Lions.
Absolutely. To close this game out, just surprise. I'm sure you guys know this, but I'm guessing a lot of people don't. And just for a reminder, if you do, when it comes to like point spreads, for the betting lines, whatever, kind of how we look at how much of a favorite everybody is in the game. 3 points is traditionally credited for home field advantage. Okay. The Jacksonville Jaguars at home today are a 3.5 point underdog.
So bet on the Jags.
I think that's wrong. I'm taking
So
the
bet on the
Jags to
Jags.
win outright, primarily due to them running all over the Lions.
I like the
defense with
quarterback.
Robinson.
He's got personality.
Minshew-
Oh, that's what I was going to
Minshew
say.
magic.
Yeah, let me take the last
Minshew
leg of this.
magic.
Let me take the
And so
Minshew
obviously
angle.
He's got a
covering the
man
point
crush for
spread.
him. Let him.
Let me take the Minshew angle.
He's looking.
All right, listen.
There you go. That's all I
I'm going
had.
to take
That's
the
all I
last.
had.
I'm
And then
taking the
on to
last
the
leg of
next
this
one.
because I forgot.
You said we're going Ravens next?
Yep,
All right.
I forgot to say this in my little thing there because I got all wrapped up about Matt Patricia. So yes, I have a man crush on Gardner Minshew. If I had betting money and we were betting on cock size, I'd put it all on the house to say his is horse comparable. Gardner Minshew is a fucking stud. I bet he's got a dick like a moose, and he's gonna go and he's gonna fucking crush. He's gonna be personally offended at that fucking 3.5 point underdog shit. He's a fucking man. Like Gardner Minshew is the new Chuck Norris. You remember those old Chuck Norris memes?
Minshew for Halloween. You got to be Minshew for Halloween.
Well, for the Halloween special, I'm wearing a ghillie suit, but you might be
I
right.
think you should be Minshew.
I should.
I think you should.
I love it. I fucking love that guy. All right, Ravens, Eagles. So we got the big Lamar Jackson, who I still don't believe in, versus Carson Wentz, who I also don't believe in. Why? Because I hate mobile quarterbacks. Stay in the pocket, or you're going to ruin your fucking career. Dak Prescott. Sorry. What was that? Cowboys. Sorry. Sorry, I have this weird thing in my throat.
Yeah, it happens. No worries.
God, what is
Going
that?
around.
Oh, man, do you guys hear Mike McCarthy's fat? God, what is that? Man, I just don't understand what's going on. All right, we're going to flip rotation. Scotty, you take this one away. We'll start with the fantasy angle.
7.5 point home underdogs for the Eagles.
I agree
to
with
the
that.
Ravens.
I agree with that. They're going to get crushed.
Ravens are strong and the Eagles stink based off of everything we've seen so far this year. I think, well, let's just start on the easier. I mean, the Eagles don't have a ton of fantasy options, in my opinion. It starts with Miles Sanders. If you've got him, he's likely drafted to be your number one running back. Or if you got him at your number two, holy cow, did you draft well? But I'm sure there's somebody out there who did.
I think there's a guy in our league that did. I think there's a guy.
That said, I don't necessarily like him this week against the Ravens. The Ravens have a decent defense. But the main reason I'm not as huge on Sanders this week as I would be almost every other week is because I feel like the Ravens offense going up against the Eagles defense is going to be out in front by a comfortable margin for pretty much the entire game, and that's going to put the Eagles in a much more limited position as far as what they can do offensively. So you're just going to see a lot more of Wentz getting sacked and dropping back 50 times than Sanders getting the ball 25 carries or so is just my gut on that. But you don't sit Sanders if he's on your yearly team. Like, you still have to play him. He is their number one piece of their offense, and he's pretty legit stud. But I would taper expectations. And then, I mean, you're probably all in on your Ravens given what we've seen from the Eagles defense for the most part this season. That said, though, I don't necessarily like if you're going to go with a Ravens running back, Ingram really hasn't done much this year. And I was a Dobbins fan going into the draft. I had him with Edwards-Helaire as like the top two backs in the draft, both over Swift. Nobody else had that, but
in fantasy drafts or in the actual draft?
In the actual draft. In the actual draft. But so I'm a huge Dobbins fan, and I like what I've seen of him this year. I think he's a nice value pick in daily, or a really good flex option, or running back too, even if you're a little thin. Marquise Brown is a guy that I've got rolling on my team today.
Brown.
I've got him in place of CeeDee Lamb in my yearly on my yearly team this week, primarily just because I love the matchup. I think Marquise Brown, Mark Andrews, who's had a little bit of a down year, but he should have some more touchdown opportunities today, I think. And then Miles Boykins, if you're looking for a real nice deep sleeper. He's real affordable in daily fantasy and has actually had a fairly good amount of involvement in the Ravens offense this year, because they've kind of had a big question mark is who are their number 2 and three receivers outside of Marquise Brown, and he's kind of stepped into that role pretty nicely. And Lamar Jackson, obviously, if he's your quarterback, you start him regardless of matchup, and this is a great matchup. Lamar could have like 50 fantasy points today. It's very possible. Or the whole rest of the team could blow up. But I'm going Ravens big, all in on Ravens players, and maybe Ertz and Sanders if you got him for the Eagles.
Fuck Zach Ertz.
We talked about give me the title.
Sure, he's a cool dude.
Help me out really quick. Give me the title of the Giants. What did the Giants head coach start off with in New England? Quality control, is that what we talked about, right?
I think that's what he started. You're talking about the Joe Judge guy?
Yeah.
Yeah, I believe he was I believe he was a defensive quality control guy, and then became the special teams coach for New England, and then immediately got the job in New York.
The problem with
But he does have Jeff Jarrett.
Okay.
Or Jeff Garrett on that staff, so there's a little bit of experience and balance there. Or I shouldn't say a little bit, but you know what I'm getting at.
Yeah, they put up some points against Dallas. It was a good game. Success.
Who's the D coordinator in New York? Do either of you remember? Because I can't.
I don't. Miles Boykin is questionable today.
We can talk. Travis, help me out here. Fulgham. Yeah.
Fulgham. Fulgham.
Yep.
Okay.
Another guy that I think really stepped up. I think Deshaun Jackson got injured. That guy, I think in about 46% of leagues, picked up from over the waiver wire. So that'd be a nice sleeper pick, right? Because one thing the Eagles do is they're going to find ways to be innovative and pass the ball. Now let's talk about the Ravens. Success. What happens year after success? The slump. Now teams have a full year game film on you, right? We don't see a ton of the Wildcat offense anymore. You know why? Because teams figure it out. But there was a span in time for about 3 years where it was there. So, to expect a guy like Lamar Jackson to throw over 30-something touchdowns and run for over 1,300 yards, to ask him to do that again, I think that'd be incredible. It'd be almost impossible, because you have quality control coaches, you have teams, you have footage. For the past X amount of days, the Eagles have been looking at game film to understand how to stop this guy, to understand how to minimize him. So I'm not sold on the Ravens. I'm not sold on the Ravens because aside from lose last year in the playoffs, what have they done? What have they done with this Lamar Jackson? Other than be kind of gimmicky at this point, they run the ball, but anybody with Lamar Jackson on their team is not seeing the same outage of 7 carries, 100 yards, right? Every week on SportsCenter breaking somebody down. Has it happened? Sure.
We talked about this
Yep.
right after our draft
out.
in fantasy.
Absolutely.
You and I talked about this, and it was still because you got him. He was the last starting quarterback drafted. You still got him as a sneaky pick, but he was rated as the number 1 quarterback
and he
going into
been.
the draft. And I was like, nah, I'm still taking Mahomes.
But the thing we got to look at with the Eagles is they've proven that, I mean, they got a Super Bowl winning coach. I mean, how long does that credibility last for a coach?
It should last forever.
Yeah, especially in Philadelphia. So,
right?
When you look at Peterson and what they're about, they find ways. What I've noticed about the Eagles is guys will step up. They'll find a way to be competitive in these games, right? But what's their identity? Carson Wentz got the monkey off his back in Nick Foles, and honestly, I thought he needed that. They traded him, right, with 3rd or 4th round pick.
I think a big thing
I
that's
think they got a 3rd
influencing
for him.
Wentz's struggles this year, not trying to make excuses for him. I mean, we all know they're pretty thin at wide receiver. Jeffrey out, not a whole lot else that's proven there. But their offensive line
O-line
is not the same offensive line that we have all gotten accustomed to them having over the past several seasons.
What were they again? Top 5, I want to say.
They've been top 5 perennial for the last
on
3
Pro
to 5
Football.
years. Yes,
And you
on
cannot-
PFF and anybody who
And you cannot
Yeah.
just blame this on the absence of Jason Peters, because San Francisco's O-line is also trash this year, even with him. So it's not just that one move. You're right. It's the whole thing.
San Francisco.
So there's a lot working against there.
Oh, I'm sorry. Never mind. I'm completely fucking retarded
side of
right
the
now.
ball around Wentz that has been downgraded.
And that's the thing.
To what it's been
Agreed.
the past recent years.
And that's the thing that we don't people don't talk about. Like, typically when you see these good teams, like if you look at the Texans, Deshaun Watson has been sacked an exorbitant amount of times in his career because those same types of guys who I don't really consider him a scrambler. He runs out of necessity. But can he read defenses? Is he good in the pocket? Of course he is. But when you think about good old line play with some of these guys, like, we don't talk about that. We don't talk about Jason Peters is one of the best old linemen that I've seen with my eyes, right, in live. To watch this guy manhandle, right, edge rushers, right, that makes a quarterback's job easier, especially a right-handed quarterback that needs his blind side protected. No one talks about how important that O-line is. Whenever we watch Tom Brady, right, whether he had to play against the Titans, what did the Titans do? They got pressure on him. And real effective pressure. But when you can sit in the pocket, i.e. Aaron Rodgers, and I know you're good, hey, you're a Hall of Famer, but man, can we sack you, please?
Right.
Okay, I digress. But the Eagles, I think Carson Wentz, what I like about him is his pocket poise. He knows how to make throws under pressure. He knows how to step and shift. Is he a runner? He is not a runner, okay? Is he mobile? Yes, very. But does he throw passes? Of course he does. Before he got injured his second year, he was runner-up. He was a candidate for MVP. I think he was on pace to throw well over 30-something touchdowns. So the guy has proven he can throw the ball. But again, having Nick Foles as your backup, having that monkey on your back, in all honesty, I think it helps some quarterbacks.
I think you're right. I think he's an example, at least based off of what we've seen, where that someone behind you, moting you, pushing you, forcing you to constantly perform at your top to keep your job. I think, he thrived in that. And we're seeing, but again, like, we can't just say it's just one thing, I don't think, with him. The last thing I wanted to get on this game from a fantasy standpoint is the Ravens defense is probably a strong play.
Get that a little closer to you, but
Very strong
the Ravens
play.
defense is probably a very strong play this week. Eagles offense prone to turnovers, prone to giving up sacks. So I would definitely feel good about the Ravens defense fantasy standpoint. And after deep diving a little more into the Eagles defense, I'm actually going to avoid both Mark Ingram and J.K. Dobbins in this game.
Yeah, I like the Ravens in this for all the obvious reasons, team related. The only variable for me is the wizardry of what's his fuck from
Peterson or Harbaugh?
Doug Peterson.
Peterson,
they're both elite level coaches. In fact, I think Doug Peterson might be the second best coach in the league.
See, I feel like he's
because I've
like
watched
he's been on steady regression since the Super
since
Bowl
the Super Bowl.
loss.
Yeah,
You can say that, but you got to understand.
or win.
You got to acknowledge and just
win. Excuse me. Yeah.
you got to just acknowledge the fact, though, that they mortgaged their future to win that Super Bowl. Like, they came out of that season and went into the next season with like 3 or 4 total draft picks, and I don't think they had a first rounder. And I think they even leveraged a couple more things, or a couple more seasons beyond that. So I saw this coming. There, whether we want to admit it or not, if you're a Philly fan, I hope this doesn't hurt your feelings, but you guys are rebuilding. The
That's
good
a
news
lie.
is
He hopes it hurts your feelings.
the good
He does
news
hope
is
it hurts your feelings.
the good news. No, because I ain't trying to hurt Eagles fans' feelings,
I'm
but
just messing with you.
but
It does feel good to hear that as a Viking
It's
fan.
fun to
though.
mess with you.
But I will tell you this: you guys are rebuilding. The good news is you're rebuilding with a franchise quarterback.
Yeah.
So if the
a
Eagles,
franchise left tackle in Andre Dillard, second year guy.
there you go,
Yeah.
there you go.
Yeah,
So
hey.
basically, I'm going with the Ravens, and if the Eagles win, it's because Doug Peterson pulls another fucking rabbit out of his hat and beats another team he has no business being, because he is kind of the giant killer, I'll call him. All right, so we're wrapping up our
Next
first
game?
hour. We've been on for already an
Next
hour.
game.
Yeah, let's do it.
So
No,
let's
we're
hit
doing good.
let's hit the next game. We got to pick this up just a little bit.
Okay, okay.
I think I did the
Yep,
math in my
just
head. We got to shave off 3 minutes per game, and
Okay,
we can
let's do
still
it.
get through this
Which is
because I'm
good.
trying to save us time to really get into the Vikings.
Okay, let's do it. Let's do it.
All right. So we got Browns Steelers. Anwar, you break this one down first.
A great matchup. Obviously, Browns looking to
Game
run
of
the
the
ball. Yep, game of the week. They want to run the ball, right? You can't tell me otherwise. What does their head coach do? He simplifies. He finds a way to allow the quarterback strengths to shine, as he did with Kirk Cousins last season, right? Stefanski. So, looking at this game, are the Steelers for real? Of course they are. Great defense. Big Ben is back. I don't think the Browns are ready to dance with the Steelers just yet, right? I think the Steelers are riding a lot of momentum, and they're finding different ways to have different guys beat you, right? You saw it last week, 4 total touchdowns by a rookie wide receiver who I think no one had on their roster coming up.
Woodyard.
Yeah.
That's a guy.
Right.
Yeah. He was rostered in like 0.6% of leagues.
If the Browns
I think he
can
started
do
in 0.
if Baker Mayfield can avoid the pressure.
Sorry.
Yeah, no problem. If Baker Mayfield can avoid the pressure.
I saw the
Would you just see a picture of a
no,
puppy?
No,
What the
I saw
fuck was that?
I saw the questionable
Yeah.
cue by Baker Mayfield's name, and so my hopes got
Case.
really high, and then I
Hold
clicked
up.
on it, and it said Mayfield is expected to start. And
Okay.
and that's when I went, "Aw."
But the
'Cause
thing
we're
Sorry, my
Case
bad.
the
fans.
thing I like about the Browns though is sneaky great, top 5 offensive line this season, right? And it's been one of the reasons they've been able to succeed both passing and running the ball. It looks like Odell Beckham Jr. is going to play. If the Browns can run the ball and commit to the run,
Big if.
they can beat the Steelers.
Doesn't look like they'll have Nick Chubb, and the Steelers' defense is currently ranked second in the league.
Who's their second
against
running back,
the
though?
run.
Kareem Hunt.
Kareem Hunt.
Exactly. So it
And
shouldn't
that-
be much of a drop.
And when
off.
you got a
I
guy
don't
like
think- I don't
Kareem-
think any.
And when you got
I
a guy
agree
like
with that.
Kareem Hunt, your running defense is irrelevant because this guy can be such a prolific pass catcher, screens, draws, things that just take your entire running defense out of the equation.
Yep.
So
Kareem Hunt is a must start. He's a must start
Oh, absolutely.
because in the year that we drafted Dalvin Cook was number 1 in college football in yards after contact. Number 2, we're talking about him right now, right? This guy's the real deal. He led the league in rushing as a rookie. Would have done the same thing if he hadn't gotten into is it really a domestic? Sure, we'll call it a domestic with concubine. He's not married, so it can't be. We'll just call her a hoe. All right.
nice.
So
Nice.
regardless,
He's finally bringing himself down to the podcast class level.
that was the best word I could give you to describe what was going down. Right. So look at the Browns to force their, impose their will running the ball. But can they handle the Steelers at home, which again, as Jared alluded to beginning of this year, what is home field advantage without a crowd? without the noise, without third down.
Yeah, I've tried to tell people the only teams that are going to be affected by the lack of a crowd are bad teams.
Just as the NBA, right? I mean, look at what happened with the dome or the bubble, as they called it, right?
Good teams don't need a crowd to be good. You see it in the Packers. You see it in the Chiefs. You
Emotional
see it in
teams
the Seahawks.
do.
The Vikings needed it, and is what I specifically said is what you're going to see is you're going to see the teams that usually perform well at home suddenly look like crap at home, and that's the Vikings, because when you're not a good team and you actually need that crowd to confuse the offense for you and disrupt communication, fine, that is part of football. But when you take that out, there's nothing that's good. And our buddy Foley, we were talking. He's like, I'm telling you, man, when a guy goes up to like make a big catch and he comes down with the ball and he hears the roar of the crowd, I'm like, no, dude. Offensively, the roar of the crowd might give you a little bit of juice, but you're already balling. Like in the heat of the game, when you're really playing anything, the crowd is not really on your mind. And if it is, you're probably going to be short-lived.
It is
in this
on their
league.
mind. This
like
is
you
a
need
game
to stay focused.
It is on their mind, though. It's a game full of guys with a bunch of egos. If you don't think that they hear the roar every time they, point their arm for a first down, emotion is what makes us human.
See, and that's where
I get that, and that's what I'm trying to say. But the elite level players, the true greats, that's not what's motivating.
Your Tom Brady's, your self-motivated guys,
exactly.
yes. But for the most part, what are young players like? They're fresh out of college, right? They love the ambiance. They love the to show.
But you understand what I'm getting at? It's the same mentality as the guy who's over there fucking flirting with the cheerleader. Like that dude is not going to perform well regardless because he's not focused. He's distracted. He's not like when we talked about the gym thing. You're like, one of the things is you ditch the camera, right? Because a lot of guys take photos of themselves in the gym
mirror
to feed the ego, right? Mm-hmm. Okay, so you're not even doing it for the right reasons, which means that's not sustainable.
But they still see results, though, right?
But it's not sustainable. It's not real. It's not real, though. Yeah, and that's what I'm getting at is the great teams are still great without a crowd. The bad teams that perform really well, now you take out the crowd, we're seeing them not play well at home. Vikings are a great example.
Case in point, you look at basketball, what happened in the finals this season. What happened to the East best team? Lost in 4 games to a great coach team in Eric Spoelstra in Miami. Now you look at the Lakers, who people have known they've been a great team, great coaching staff. You think about Jason Kidd. What do you see? The same result. So when you talk about great coaching, that's what it's about, getting guys focused.
Well, and the players,
right?
too. You've always been a big proponent.
I like both coaches in this game.
Yeah, but great coaches get their guys ready to play, right? There's a culture that says, hey, look what Bill Belichick did to the Super Bowl MVP. You didn't play because you did something detrimental to the team, right? There's a culture in place that says we need to stay focused, whereas you look at a Mike Tice, who I liked him actually, but, the whole – love boat scandal. You think about, you don't want to have your players in the tabloids doing things that would draw that type of attention that says I'm not focused, right? Mm-hmm. So when you look at just overall home field advantage, it matters to young players. When it becomes a profession that you want to be the best at, that's self-motivation. Now when you talk about your Tom Brady's, your guy, Ben Roethlisberger. Yeah. Do they still love the roar of the fans? Of course they do. That's euphoric.
But they don't need it.
But do they need it? No, but young players do need it.
Yep.
Because who do you think's hyping you up on the sideline at home, right? Who's keeping it up?
Right.
All I got to say is when you have 1,000 people chanting your name, there's no greater experience.
No, I get it. I get it, dude. Trust me, I'm a performer.
I'm with some rock stars here. So,
I've been there. But here's why I say this with such volition. Is because Scotty and I, if you're a pro, we have a law. We have an unwritten law in the music business. You better put on the same show for 3 people versus 3,000 people. And that's the difference between a guy like me and the guys who aren't me. Is they need a crowd of 300 or 3,000 for them to get into it and put on a good show. Me, I'll go out there to an empty fucking room and throw down. You know why? Because that's how I rehearse in my basement. So when I get out there on the stage, I don't need that.
Did Larry Fitzgerald in Minnesota, did he need that? No, the guy came from.
Thank you. That's what I'm saying. Right? And that's all I'm getting at. Is
guys who have a love for the game. Who didn't play it because of all the accolades, right? Yep. But guys who love the game. Michael Jordan had a love of the game clause in his contract.
Correct.
So I can play when I want to play because I love it.
Yep.
Right? So, yes.
He didn't mean that like Randy Moss meant it. He meant it like, if I'm injured and I want to play, that
you
means
can't
I'm
stop
playing.
me, right? I'll go to North Carolina on a bad ankle and still play. So home field advantage for young players, for the average immature kid that they bring in, right? They do feed off that energy. But when you think about greatness and self-motivated people, they feed off of it all, right? But they're self-motivated.
Right.
They don't need the crowd to get them going, but they can still feed off of it.
Now, so people don't think we're regressing here or digressing here. The reason we're deep diving this specific topic is because this is a great example. Browns Steelers, this is a great example of beauty versus the beast.
Well,
okay, you got the young
games this week.
You got one of the
biggest
young,
games
sexy teams in the Browns, right? They got the good-looking quarterback, literally. They got the rock star in OBJ. They got the young, hot fucking coach, and not hot, sexy coach, like attractive. I mean, like he was the buzz coach.
Hey, you got your man crush on Minshew. I got mine on K-Steph.
Yep.
Yeah.
I'm going with wisdom over beauty on this one. I think the Steelers pull this one out because of the experience and the lack of jitters. I think it's a divisional game. The Browns are on the road, even though the crowd's not going to be the biggest factor. They're still going on the road. To them, it's still a thing to go win in
Pittsburgh.
That's
right, yeah.
And you got a lot of youth on that team, including the coaching staff. I think mistakes will be made on the Browns side, and they lose this one in a close one because of those mistakes, whether it's penalties, including like offsides. I'm not talking egregious shit, face mask, stuff like that. I'm talking like offsides, false starts, or turnovers. It's going to be late in the game when it happens, and somebody's going to fuck up. And I believe in the Steelers' culture, their coaches, their players, their leaders on that field. There's going to be less mistakes made by the Steelers, and the only way the Browns pull that game off, like you said, they got to commit to the run. For me, it's mistakes, specifically probably penalties, pre-snap penalties. I think is what that one's going to come down to. Bengals Colts. Scotty, you take this one away.
All right. Well, I was looking at this one the other night a little bit, and I did not realize what I was about to share with you guys. Colts have the best defense in all.
Oh no, yeah, we knew about that. Yeah,
and I'm just like, wow, when did that happen? I guess I wasn't paying attention to that.
Yeah.
I just watched the one Vikes game.
Frank Reich is a genius.
It's just like, dang, and it's not just against the run, or it's not just against the pass. Like, it is as well-rounded as it can be. Their top 5, fewest points allowed, fewest rushing yards allowed, like everything. They're legit. They're at home against a rookie quarterback who has a terrible offensive line. And as a result, not much of a run game to help them out either. I see Colts huge, comfortably in this game. I would shy away from playing any Cincinnati Bengals. If you're invested in Joe Mixon in a yearly league, obviously you still have to consider
he's a
him
must start,
because of where you drafted him. But depending on who you drafted in the deeper rounds, as well as who you've been able to pick up on the free agent wire, like if you got Myles Gaskin sitting on your roster for the Dolphins, I'd play him over Joe Mixon if you had to choose between the two. I'm just saying. But so like you can play him, but he's got to be a must play. Like you need to be in a situation where he's a must play. Otherwise, I'm not playing any Bengals whatsoever. Mixon's the only one I'm considering. I'm all in on Jonathan Taylor today. Don't be surprised if there's some no-name tight end or third or fourth string wide receiver for the Colts who ends up with some big numbers too when it's all said and done. Phillip Rivers is probably a pretty good value play today as well, whether it be yearly or daily. And I see this one being pretty.
How's the spread
pretty
look?
Blowout.
Because here's how I bet money. I don't bet money on rookie quarterbacks. You know what I mean? Like,
good philosophy,
regardless of whether they're going up against somebody good or not. So
7.5 point favorites the Colts are.
Yeah.
In this day and age,
that's a safe
so Vegas
bet.
sees them as a 4.5 point favorite without home field
Hey,
advantage.
Anwar, will you do me a favor and pull that side shut a little bit?
Yeah, if this
You
game
might
was
have
in
to go up
Cincinnati,
top. You might have to go up and top.
if this game was
Pull it
in
over.
Cincinnati, the Colts would still be 4.5 point favorites.
There you go. Thanks, bud.
And then you mentioned all the talk we've had about coaching staffs.
Frank Reich's a fucking genius.
There's no question.
I'm not
the
sold
Colts
on.
have the advantage when it comes.
I'm not
to
sold on
coaching
the.
in this, so.
I'm not sold on the Bengals coaching staff. I'm not going to get into the deets.
Colts D. If you got them too today.
Yep.
Yeah, they're a must start. I think you got a young quarterback who got his first real taste of defeat, where completely rendered useless versus the Ravens last week. The question is, does he learn? Does Joey learn from
Does
it?
he bounce back?
And I think the answer is yes. I think
I believe in Burrows.
I think Burrows has really proven, that he's a winner. There's a certain element, but obviously, not having AJ Green be AJ Green, just a shell of his former self, right? And I think exited last game, no catches and an injured hamstring, I believe. So, the Colts by far, for one, they've somehow found the fountain of youth in Indianapolis with Xavier Rhodes,
because he slipped and hurt his hamstring sucking cock in the in the locker room because he's such a bitch.
Look, Xavier Rhodes, as much as I want to wish this guy well, the issues
like a stud against us.
Look like a stud against us, right? But it's the same thing. I think he leads the league in interceptions, so he's having an all-pro season. So when Scotty brought up just the statistics about what we see with the Colts. For one, what do? They traded their first overall pick to get who? I think Buckner from San Francisco.
Correct.
Pro Bowl defensive tackle, right? So they're not missing a beat. So they upgraded that position. He looked like a beast against Minnesota. D-line looks great. Linebackers are playing fast.
Leonard is as good as it gets.
Leonard, all-pro linebacker, as good as it gets right now. But more
the
importantly,
best guard in the league.
Best O-line, period. Colts have the best O-line in the league. So if in a perfect world, if the Vikings wanted to get a guy
or pancake machine,
look, I don't believe in the pancakes, but I tell you what, I think that's the overrated bullshit.
I never
stat.
got to show you guys that on the last podcast.
I'm missing French toast Sunday at my house to be here with you guys, just so you know.
Thanks, man.
Yep.
Yeah,
next
man,
time,
hey,
You brought up the pancakes.
Next time we'll see if we can put it in the budget, and I'll have French toast here. You son of a bitch.
Exactly. We got the purple or pancakes, right? Isn't what Prince served?
Yeah, I'll have my wife put fucking blueberries in them, so they'll be purple.
Yeah.
Oh,
She'll serve them to you on this table.
That's awesome.
It's your pancakes, bitch.
Oh, man.
My wife will say that too. My wife will come down, give you pancakes and waffles, and be like, "Here, bitch," and then leave. Because my wife's fucking awesome like that. All right, boys, we already did that one, so let's jump Bears Panthers.
Ooh, division.
Oh, the Colts win that game, by the way, people.
Yes. Yeah.
Oh yeah, handily. That's the safest bet on there. And I don't really need to say much about that game because I kind of already did. I don't bet on rookie quarterbacks, regardless. So I'm always fading against a rookie quarterback on betting money.
Last thing I'll throw in there from a fantasy standpoint, I did just notice the Bengals' run defense is bottom 3, bottom 5 in the league. Their pass defense, however, though, is top 10, top 15. So probably don't expect Phillip Rivers or a T.Y. Hilton sighting or anything like that in too great of abundance. But Jonathan Taylor should have, he should flirt with 150 yards and multiple touchdowns in this game, I would think. And I just put him in the daily lineup that I'm making as we go through games here. As I'm trying to put trying to potentially put one person from each game we go over in a daily fantasy lineup. As we're doing this. And
Sick.
Jonathan Taylor is locked in as of right now. 6,400 daily fantasy, and sky's the limit today. So
Anwar, I'm going to have you start with, "Hey, Teddy, don't you want to come to my birthday?" That kid was cute.
If I knew what you want to give me some insight on.
You don't know what I'm talking about?
Man, hell no.
You remember what I'm talking about, right? You remember what I'm talking about, right?
Hey, Teddy.
When Teddy was here?
Don't you want to come to my birthday?
Oh, you were saying Teddy. Okay, like Teddy Bridgewater. Got it.
You don't know the song I'm talking about. Obadiah. Skolbadiah.
No.
Okay, you know what? We're playing it because this is worth it.
Sweet.
I'm going to give a shout out to this kid.
Teddy ain't got a good matchup today, I'll tell you that.
Let's see if I can find it right. Skolbadiah. It should be right away. You don't remember this, Anwar? I can't believe this.
You
I'm
say
shocked.
remember it. I never heard
this
it.
This went viral. This went viral when Teddy was here. This kid's so cute, dude.
Oh, yeah. Obadiah, yeah. Seen him on Care 11 a couple times. Yeah.
You don't remember this, Anwar?
You keep saying, "Do I remember it?"
Yeah.
I never saw it to remember it or forget it. This is the first.
Go Vikings, let's win this game. Go Vikings, honor your name. Let's get a first down, let's get a touchdown. Rock 'em, toss 'em, fight. Go Vikings, run out, score. You'll hear us cheer for more. Vikings. Go Vikings, let's go to my birthday party. Hey Teddy, won't you wanna come to my birthday? Hey Teddy, won't you wanna come to my birthday? Hey Teddy.
He wrote this. This kid.
He's got some skills, man.
I know, dude. That's the thing. Is like he's on key.
And the dude is hitting. He's holding notes, man.
That's what I'm saying. He's singing on key.
It's been too long since I've seen this. That's great.
And listen. Like he even understands dynamics of songwriting, like how to like gently fade out his song. So Teddy Bridwaj, this
Double
went
thumbs
viral.
up
I
for
can't
you,
believe you never saw this.
Obadiah, man.
That's why I was like, what do you mean you don't remember this? This was viral. Everybody,
I
I,
mean, bro,
swear to God, I thought
437 views. It's not like it's 8 million.
437,000.
Okay, that's what I
And
meant.
that's just this
I meant
version.
437.
But I'm just
Okay,
saying that's
but-
just this version, dude. There's like other people that have uploaded this. So Teddy
Well, that
saw
one got
this.
up.
Don't
So
make
Teddy
him feel
saw
bad
this.
for being sheltered. Okay,
Teddy
man?
saw
It's
this,
all
but we
right.
were playing in an away game during his birthday, so he couldn't make it. So Teddy went and hung out with the kid and like brought him a fucking
Very
birthday cake.
Teddy
and shit.
Bridgewater type of move,
Yeah,
right?
dude.
Yeah, exactly.
So-
100%.
So as PA would say, too much time for Teddy.
Got it.
Teddy might not have too much time today, though. That's a lot of alliteration with the letter T there.
I know, but boy, oh boy, these Bears! I tell you, it's a tale of two halves. One
See,
one
that's the
day
beauty
they
of a podcast. I'll play a fucking kid making a fucking birthday video if I fucking goddamn want to, because that's what we do. This isn't Fox 9. I don't have licensing rights I have to worry about.
I might even watch that
Cute little shit.
when I get home. I actually liked it, man.
Dude, he
Wow.
was adorable, dude.
But his song was actually, very like cartoony. If you're watching kids, you're watching the cartoon. Some of the songs they do stick. That's one of them.
Baby shark. I just ruined everyone's morning. When we're playing fantasy all season last
DJ
year, I'm
Chark.
going, DJ
Yep.
Chark, DJ Chark, because he was winning me games.
So, the Bears, in all honesty, have to be the most gimmicky, the most all-time lucky.
Mhm.
What are they? Are they 4-0, 4-1?
Franchise.
4-1, I believe.
Not just this year.
I mean,
they got one
no.
loss.
This is unprecedented. The amount of horseshoes that come out of asses and throats. I don't understand. I mean, I'm watching these Bears. I'm like, there's no way this is a 4-1 team. There's no way. This defense, I know it sounds good on paper. I know it sounds sexy, right? We get to talk about Khalil Mack and blah, 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 blah.
They got
Not
some
the same
players.
team. No. Linebacker position has regressed, okay? Was better 2 years ago. I'm not talking about Mack. I'm talking about the other guys, okay? Secondary, I like Will Fuller. No, Fuller's gone. Wait, hold on.
They got full.
That's right. Okay, they from Kansas. Okay,
Tillman's gone. Peanut Tillman's gone.
Peanut Tillman. What is this? 2010. Peanut Tillman.
He was just there a year or two
Who
ago.
told you that, man?
He was still just there up
that
till a
is,
year
that
or
is
two
a sat
ago.
out the ass right there. Pat Tillman. You know what he? You're right. But it was like 4 years ago. It was like 2016.
Oh, was it
They
already?
got my boy Jalen Johnson.
God, it's weird how time flies
my
like that.
boy,
You're right,
right.
though. It could have been 4 years
They got
ago.
my boy Jalen Johnson out of Utah, starting opposite Fuller.
Yeah.
Drafted him in second round.
Yeah.
He was the guy I wanted more than
Anybody,
other
yeah.
cornerback
Yeah.
in the draft. And as of right now, he's PFF's number one rated rookie
Yep.
cornerback. And I want to say last I looked, he was like top 3 or top 5 in the
I
whole
thought
league.
I thought and hoped
So
the Vikings
far,
were going to
and I
draft
mean,
him.
Yeah, but
that's just
again-
PFF, but
I mean, look at them. We're talking about the Bears, right? Look at how many shootouts they've been in, right? They haven't had these low-scoring affairs. So, when I think about opportunities to be a cornerback, both of these guys from whether it's help me out, the African name in Detroit,
for which position?
the cornerback, the guy they took,
Okuda.
Akuda, right, with the number 3 or 2 overall pick,
Yep.
right?
I think
That
he was
high.
Fourth. But
Okay,
Close
right.
enough. Close enough.
Maybe 3 or 4, right? Okay, all right. But again, to your point, you had this guy higher, right?
I did.
You had him higher. You
I
had him higher.
above Okudah. I did.
All right. So any owners out there looking for an aspiring GM, I mean, listen, this is what it's about. Hey, Detroit. That way you don't draft a Okudah.
Well, don't get me wrong. Like Okudah's got tons of potential.
He has been roasted, right? Like skewer style, man. I'm like,
I didn't like the competition that he went up against in the Big Ten.
Same
the receivers
here.
he had to guard there were not a fair measure of what you're going to be going up against in the NFL. I didn't like the way he pulled up lame in the combine, just on a standard freaking deep coverage hip turn. So and
I
just
was
as
not
a
impressed
tackler,
either.
He never really impressed me on film. I didn't feel like he disrupted things or influenced the play calling the way that a fourth overall corner should be. And I've looked at Jalen, and I'm just like, dude has the size, the speed, the coverage skills, the technique, the IQ, the motor. I'm like, this guy is not missing anything.
And a D-line.
Can play zone,
Yep.
can play man, can press. What doesn't this guy have that you guys look for?
You know what he has
position?
also?
So
he has a defense that can get pressure on the quarterback. So that always makes
life a lot easier.
Cornerback's job easier.
Absolutely. That's a fantastic point, though. That's a fantastic point.
But I agree with you because I looked at this kid and felt like he was one of the top corners coming out of the draft. And in all honesty, I was hoping the Vikes would get.
Yep, me too.
I'm not complaining.
That's not an indictment on Gladney.
Yeah, it isn't.
Or Dantzler.
And we'll get to those guys sooner, right? But I think overall, Teddy Bridgewater is, getting an opportunity, and it really it hits in a sore spot for Viking fans, right? Because we had that $1 million question about 3.5 years ago. Well, who's the right quarterback? Well, guess what? Case Keenum is on a bench somewhere. We're all hoping he starts, right?
Mm-hmm. Cleveland.
And
on a backup contract too, $7 million a year.
Yeah, $8-7 million a year. And then now you look at Teddy Bridgewater, who show what he can do again with the Saints last year, and honestly, he's their quarterback, right? Teddy Bridgewater has an ability, right, to move in the pocket, which against a team like the lucky ass Bears, I think the Panthers can win this game. I really do, and that's not a bias, but it's just understanding. Am I sold on the Bears? How's their run game looking this season?
That's exactly where I was going to go. From a fantasy standpoint, if you look at the defensive strengths for each team, both defenses are pretty good.
Yeah.
Both are very good against the pass and don't allow a ton of points. The one weakness in the whole picture is the Panthers' run defense. And that's what the Bears have been missing since they were successful with Nagy a couple of years ago, is their run game. David Montgomery has been a little bit of a disappointment. Started out slow again this year, but has picked up a little bit.
Looked great
over
against
the past
Tampa
couple
Bay.
weeks. So to me, from a fantasy standpoint, I'm looking at this game and I'm avoiding pretty much everybody in this game, with the exception of David Montgomery. Or if I've got Allen Robinson on my team and I don't feel good about my other options, Robinson is always a legit threat to get a touchdown.
What about Foles on a deep sneak pick?
Again, the Panthers' pass defense is actually pretty good on paper so far this year.
Like statistically, as far as what they're giving up, because on film, because
what
I
the
ran
Panthers
into
are
them a
giving
couple
up.
times scouting some other teams, and they look like trash on the field.
A lot of that is probably very dependent on a pass rush, on generating pressure. I don't think they've got guys in the secondary that are,
Well, and I'm watching
all that good at
highlights too.
covering.
I'm not deep diving these guys because I don't have the same time I used to. So I'm watching highlight film, but I don't even see Kuechly on the field. Is he injured?
He's retired.
He did retire? Okay.
Yeah, he retired.
Yeah, because I'm like, man, what happened to Kuechly? Because again, I don't have the same time I did literally 1 year ago at this
Kuechly
time.
called
I
it a
would.
career.
You guys know me. I mean, a year ago, I knew everything about coaching staffs and the roster. I just don't have the time anymore. So now I'm looking on the field, watching these highlights. I come across the fucking the Panthers twice, and I'm going, what the fuck happened to Kuechly? You know what I mean? I'm looking around. I'm like, is he injured? What the fuck's going on? That defense doesn't look the same. When I'm watching them, the eye test, they don't pass the eye test. So statistically,
Definitely.
So here's what I'm thinking.
Oh, it was third. You had it right. Cool.
So here's what
I wasn't looking for that.
only one.
I wasn't looking
Right
for
on.
that, by the way.
Reference that.
Um,
What are you talking about?
Well, what I'm talking about is, I like to look to see, obviously, who Carolina got in the draft this year, right? And how they're applying this player, because I think
What player?
The Panthers.
That's what we're getting to.
That's what I was looking for.
Who was the Panthers?
I was looking for the first round pick the Panthers had
this year.
Did they have a first round pick this year?
It doesn't look like they did unless they traded up.
Okay.
That would explain why I can't remember who.
Derek Brown, defensive
the
tackle.
D tackle from Auburn.
Derek
That's
Brown.
right.
Okay.
Derek Brown.
No, their D line is still very, very stout.
Yeah.
But the linebacking core has regressed a little bit, and I think the secondary is fairly.
No, I
young.
remember Derek Brown because the Gophers smashed that fucking team in the bowl game last year. That was supposed to be the best defensive line in college football,
Yep.
and the Gophers O line made them look like a high school team.
I
had never been more proud.
That Derek Brown played last year though in Auburn, and that dude was a beast.
He was a beast.
Until the Gophers.
Yep. But he's a defensive tackle. You can't expect those dudes to just
agree.
go
This isn't
at
an indictment on him.
But let's be honest though, too.
for sure. I like
that old line the Gophers had. Pretty damn impressive last season. They didn't have a guy damn near 400 pounds. One of the guards.
I don't know. But
Yeah.
I'm excited
saying
for Gophers football.
The Gophers had a lot of success because O-line play was phenomenal last season.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Second round picks, But
all right, we got 1 hour.
Yeah, no, we got it.
So I'm gonna still go with the Bears for this one to win because I don't know.
Because you feel it's the right thing to do.
It's a toss up.
Yeah.
I'm going to give their defense the slight advantage in this one.
I'm kind of with both of you guys for different reasons. So here's how I'm looking at this is Nick Foles plus a good defense plus a good coach is a formula I don't want to go up against. We've seen it time and time again. We've seen it when Foles was a rookie and he set the rookie quarterback touchdown record. I think he had threw 40 touchdowns his rookie season. I know that sounds absurd, but I think that that is what the number is.
That was a Chip Kelly offense. Yeah. And
right.
I think only 3 interceptions. So number like that.
Some crazy fucking
could have been
shit,
like
right?
29-3, something like that.
It was just absurd. He set the rookie record for touchdowns. I remember that. And then we seen it again in Philly when they won the Super Bowl and then almost fucking had a second run, right? Yep. Like, okay. And now we're seeing something happen in Chicago here. So ultimately, this comes down to Matt Nagy. If Matt Nagy really is the offensive coach he's supposed to be, they not only win this game, but they continue to have a great season. Now, where I'm going to piggyback off of Anwar, though, is Chicago, when they have great seasons, they are historically an opportunistic team. Okay, so I remember years and years and years ago, they had Kyle Orton and fucking, not the year they went to the Super Bowl. They had Kyle Orton or somebody like a Kyle Orton. Could have been fucking somebody even worse. And Brian Urlacher was still the fucking...
It would have been Rex or Kyle. One of those two in one of these seasons you're talking about.
Well, it was definitely not the season they went to the Super Bowl, but I remember them specifically, and this was a long time ago. I remember them going 13-3 and winning 2 games that year where they were down by 14 points with less than 30 seconds to go, and they won both of those games.
That would have been Kyle Orton's. We talked about this, remember?
Kyle Orton. When they have these seasons, they are the luckiest fucking team in the NFL, and it happens once every 10 years. So I don't think that they're going to have another one now. I don't think Matt Nagy is the offensive guru he's made out to be. I don't think they win this game. That's what I'm getting at here. So if they do, though, this is how it's going to go down. They're going to continue to get lucky and be opportunistic, take advantage of weird opportunities, turnovers, penalties, fucking lucky plays, good calls from the refs, so on and so forth. And Matt Nagy's going to fucking finally prove he's good because he's got a good defense and he's got Nick Foles, who is streaky. That's Nick's thing.
Can I ask you guys a question?
If he gets on a hot streak, you're fucked.
How long has Nagy been the head coach? 3 years?
I think this is his 4th season.
4th season?
That sounds right.
Okay, so,
yes, because 2 years ago, is it 2 or 3 years ago? It's either his 3rd or his 4th.
Yeah, so I got a question. Trubisky, how many years? 3rd year? Right, this
3rd or 4th.
Yeah, this would be his 3rd.
3rd year, right? So who drafted him?
Nagy,
okay. So, again, anytime...
They traded up to get him at 5th.
I mean, you can't put that all on the coach.
Well, right, but I don't know the name of the GM.
Yep.
And they traded up to get him at the 5th overall pick, I believe. So
this is one of these situations where a head coach comes in, right, gets the as Scotty likes to say, the sexy pick, right? What is it? The first year guy, you get your franchise quarterback. That's what Trubisky was supposed to be. Matter of fact, if you go back in time on YouTube and watch videos about that quarterback class, right? There was a debate. There was a debate.
You know what? He's the Tua Tagovailoa of his draft.
Yeah. But unlike, I will say this: the year that they were successful, I think the kicker missed the kick. He actually had he had a Pro Bowl season that year. Had a pretty good year. You look at his QBR. I think it was in the 70s or 68 high. He made a lot of plays on third down. More importantly, he ran the ball on third down.
Exactly. Yep.
Right now, they want him to be this other type of quarterback, and I think, again, you got to be able to handle the pressure in all elements as a quarterback, or it doesn't work for you. And guys like Nick Foles, what are they proven? Backup starter. You put me in, I'm gonna execute. Period. So I think, is this a hot seat? Anytime a head coach vouches for a player they want in the draft and it doesn't work out, you got to look at that and say, well, where did we go wrong? And I think what happens is with these quarterback-friendly offenses, or these guys who have a background.
All right, I got last-minute fantasy injury updates.
They come in with a certain level of hubris, a little arrogance, and I think it rubs a young quarterback the wrong way, right? It is underestimated, right?
Yep.
Undervalued how hard it is to keep a young quarterback focused, right? To be successful when the pressure's on you.
I'm not going through this whole list. This list is way too long.
To close this game out, and then I suggest we breeze through a couple of the ones nobody cares about real quick to get back on time. But just to close out the Bears-Panthers fantasy-wise, I like David Montgomery's potential in this game, and I feel really good about starting either defense in this game. And I put the Panthers defense in my daily fantasy lineup here that I'm building on this show because of the value with the ceiling. So
let's just attack the dumpster fire.
Anyway,
the Jets Dolphins.
Okay, see, I thought you were talking Giants.
Let's just keep it in order because I already fucked this up and went out of order once, and it totally confused me.
Washington Giants.
Yeah, Washington Giants. I'm going to do this real quick. I'm sneaky on this. I'm starting Washington's defense today in the fantasy league.
Washington has a good defense.
It's decent.
I knew that going in.
It's decent, but here's why I'm doing it. Okay. 2 reasons. Once again, emotional hangover because they fucking lost to in an emotional game to the Giants to the Cowboys last week. Mm-hmm. Okay, so including Jason Garrett, I think I called him Jeff Garrett earlier. Jason Garrett
we knew what you meant.
He's going to be emotionally exhausted as well. He put extra time into that one last week. And again, I don't fucking bet on rookie quarterbacks, so I don't take them to win the game. And I know technically,
who's your rookie quarterback?
I know technically Daniel Jones isn't a rookie quarterback, but he plays like a rookie. I just don't. I'm not sold on him. I don't buy into him. I don't like him. I don't think he's going to be good. At least not yet. Maybe my opinion will change, but I'm just not high on these young guys. There's me. I'm the most critical of quarterbacks out of anybody that I've ever heard. You're going to say
Washington's defense, though. I think one name you got.
I'm taking Washington because Alex Smith is back, and he's a game manager.
You're missing a name on defense that when he's there, that's a different defense.
Who? Washington,
number 2 overall pick, Chase Young.
Washington.
First game he started 8 sacks. Since then, they've been a shell of that defense we thought we'd see. 8 sacks the first game.
As a team.
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
Nice. That's
so, Chase Young is the real deal. And when he's out there, he's one of those guys that creates that effect.
Sit everybody, I assume, except for, is there anybody we're starting?
I don't know.
I'm starting the Giants running back.
I like the Giants defense, to be honest with you.
I was just going to say the Giants defense here when I'm looking
at
Freeman. I'm looking at Terry McLaurin right now, and then thus I'm looking at the Giants defense for the matchup. Giants defense matchup-wise in fantasy has been fairly good, actually.
I'm taking Freeman.
8th in total yards, 11th in pass, 15th in rush, 18 in points. And then
but you're going up against Alex Smith today.
On the flip side, the Redskins defense has been really good against
Alex Smith
really
is
good
legit.
Against the pass, really not good against the run. So I mean, if Barkley was healthy, you'd be going in all in on Barkley today.
I got Freeman today.
But without that, I mean, you still probably feel good about
I don't. I like Freeman, but is he the same north-south back he was?
I don't care about that. Here's why I'm picking Freeman, because he's the only thing they got other than a wide receiver, which I can't remember his name right now. Again, it's a rookie quarterback. They're going to be
Did you watch the Cowboy game?
The only way New York wins this game is if they can win the time of possession battle and run the football.
If New York can have a
that's why I'm
balanced
starting Freeman.
offense, which is possible given how much the Washington football team, has struggled against the run, like that is possible. If the Giants can have a balanced offense where they're not turning the ball over, that's how they win today.
That's why I'm starting Freeman, is because they have to
But
prioritize
that said,
the run.
from a fantasy standpoint, looking at how bad both of these offenses are, as well as how not too bad both of the defenses are, I think this is going to be like a 2016 14-13 type of game where I would just avoid it altogether from a fantasy standpoint.
I don't have a choice.
Because I don't think there's a whole lot of points to be had for anybody.
Our league is so shallow on running backs.
My opinion.
I think
I don't have a choice.
I think the Giants.
That's all I got on this game.
Yeah, I think.
And I'm taking the Giants to win.
Giants to win. I think the Giants win this game, and I think they do score points. And here's why. Right, the first, obviously Barkley's out. Your whole offense predicated on your elite running back. Right. You took a guy, I think, in the top 10 as a quarterback. Everybody laughed at the pick, but I watched him play in college, and more importantly, I like what I saw last year in the pros. He's not afraid.
You mean last week or last year?
Last year.
Oh, sorry.
Right, his rookie season. And even the Dallas.
You did say in the pros, my bad.
Yeah, and even the Dallas game, he showed some wit. He can step up, make the throws. He's not afraid to take the hit, right? So I haven't seen a lot out of Washington's defense aside from the first week that really impressed me. And then Chase Young got injured, obviously a hamstring or groin injury, and has not been back.
Well, even that first week, they went down 17-0 to start that game. They came back against Philly in week 1. So it's not like
8 sacks as a team.
Right. But that could have been for a number of things that happened. But I'm still starting that defense, and I'm starting Freeman because, number one, running backs, they're hard to come by. A lot of the good ones are injured, so people are desperate for running backs. He's a number 1 back. He is going to be featured in that offense. I have to start him. I don't really have a choice. The reason I'm okay with it and I'm not grumbling is because I honestly think, like I said, they got one wide receiver who's a legit threat. They're going up against a good team on defense. Okay, with now a very experienced quarterback coming in, so you're not dealing with Haskins anymore. You're not dealing with what's his fuck. Who's the other guy? Who's the other idiot that also got injured? Brandon. What's his fucking name?
Allen. Kyle Allen.
Yeah, Kyle Allen from Carolina.
Fuck that guy.
I was gonna say Colt McCoy, but I'm like,
so you got a guy in Alex Smith coming in who's a game manager. He's not going to turn the ball over very much. You see what I'm going? And then they got Gibson on the other side of the ball, so they're going to be trying to do the same thing. So I just don't see this turning into a shootout where it's going to be a high scoring. I just don't see it. It's not in the cards.
That's because you're high on the Washington team's defense for some apparent reason.
I'm not high on them. I'm starting them this week because I think it's the sneaky move.
Which is why you're high on them.
I'm not high on him. I'm saying I think Daniel Jones is a fucking joke. I think they're going to be – I think the entire fucking organization is diseased. They make bonehead decisions. I don't believe in Joe Judge. I think they're going to be in an emotional hangover from that loss last week because everybody's ramped up to beat another division opponent. Everything is lined up for Washington to win this game.
But let's go to
the next dumpster fire. Jets,
run
Dolphins.
The ball, they can't win this game.
Correct.
If they can't run the ball, they can't win.
Correct. And that's exactly why I'm starting Freeman because I think they know that and they're going to prioritize it. Next dumpster fire. Let's breeze through it. Jets, Dolphins. Don't doubt Fitz.
I like the Dolphins. I felt like they were going to be better coming into the season. So far, they look a little better. They're still not good.
Hold on, Scotty. Why'd you look at me like that when I said don't doubt Fitz?
Actually, I woke up when you said it because I almost fell asleep when you brought this game up. But keep going.
Oh, that's what you're doing.
So I was just dozing a little bit.
In fantasy football.
Wait, what? What were we talking about?
In fantasy football, as well as
you wake me up when we're done with Jets Dolphins
and stuff. I'm always looking at how bad teams are in a matchup more so than how good teams are. I want the worst defenses.
I
want worst offenses. I'm picking against those.
I got outbid
way more often than I'm going, ooh, those are good. I like those. No, I'm going, oh, those are bad. I'm picking the other side.
I got outbid for Miami's defense to start today.
I believe that. So in my opinion, the Jets are every bit as terrible, as perceived, as advertised.
Josh Darnold's got a little dick.
Even. Bell's gone. I don't even know if Darnold's playing, if he's still hurt. Not that it makes a difference.
Well, yeah, hurt this year, mono last year. You know, keep going
So I
with this
mean,
guy.
I'm not touching any New York Jet with a 49.5-foot pole. But the Dolphins, on the other hand, I'm all in on Myles Gaskin today. Running back has taken over as the future number one guy there. Great value.
Fitz could blow up and have a big stat day too.
Well, and that's the thing. Fitz is going to probably move the ball in this offense as well. So, I mean, we don't know if the touchdowns are going to come from passing or running, but we know that there are going to be touchdowns that the Dolphins score, and we know that they're going to get yards as well. So go in on your Dolphins. Throw in Fitzpatrick if you need someone for daily who's good value.
Matt Breida.
Throw in if Gaskin is on your lineup, you have to start him. I don't care if it's RB2, if it's your flex, you have to start Myles Gaskin. I would stay away from any Dolphin back that isn't named Gaskin.
Okay. You got Gaskin,
I also
don't you?
Gesicki is also a nice tight end for Miami if you're looking for someone that's you know a little less popular but still productive. And then Devontae Parker's kind of emerging into a number one receiver
1,000-yard
role.
receiver last season.
So I like
Where did
him
he come
too.
from?
So I
Was
like
he
I like all
drafted a
those
Dolphin?
Dolphins.
Yeah.
Yes. I like all those. I like 4 Dolphins today. I like Gesicki, Parker, Gaskin, and Fitzpatrick. I feel really good about all of them. They're great value, and if you got them, strongly consider
look,
playing
You can wrap this one up. I have no
The
comments.
problem with the Jets and most of these organizations is they think they get better than the players. And time in, time out, the players have to remind you that we do make a difference, right? You have one of the best safeties in the NFL in Adams, right? And why he's not on your team.
Did they successfully? Oh, yeah, that's right. Yeah.
They traded him to Seattle.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
Jamal Adams, is that his
So
Yep.
you go out there, right? Now, this is a guy who I think was taken in the top 10.
Yeah,
Again,
I think he was 6th.
Horrible organizations don't keep those players. This is a guy who you build around. He's established himself as one of the best safeties in the league. You find a way to make that relationship work, and typically that's what you see with great organizations. They're just a mystery or an enigma in all elements. I mean, in one, who's their running back? I mean, could you start a Jets running back? Yeah, Frank Gore is on the depth chart now.
Who's
He's
only
number one back.
Number one back.
He's only 63 years old.
Exactly. You know, and I think Frank Sinatra said he was between you and me, he was 137 also. So that was a coming to America for all you guys.
I got it.
You know, but
I got that one.
But going back, you know, just looking at so you went out there and you got what? You got that franchise quarterback, and how's he working out for you? You know what he's shown you? If you give him some weapons on the outside, he can throw the ball deep, right? But as far as what they have, there's no DeBrickashaw Ferguson at left tackle anymore, right? No Kevin Mawai. This team is not what they used to be from an O-line standpoint. And
who was that dominant center they had for years?
Kevin Mawai.
Oh, is that who it was?
Yeah. So when you look at the Jets, they're just a prime example of, again, you had a couple of options at head coach. You had a coach who signed Fitzpatrick, right? Remember, Fitzpatrick was the franchise quarterback. They signed him to a nice deal. You remember this with the Jets? Mm-hmm. And what happened?
They cut him.
You got rid of that head coach who gave you guys. It's just what happens.
Todd Bowles?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Who look, as I said before, anytime you take a team and give them an identity, you can't just fire that. But as Scotty said in the first podcast we ever did, this is entertainment first, and the sexy thing to do with entertainment is what? To blow it all up. And this is a prime example of what happens when you blow it all up, literally and figuratively. Done.
Mm-hmm.
Dolphins.
Yep, Dolphins big. Yep.
Yeah, my nuts and bolts of this one are Jets are a diseased organization, quite possibly the worst in football. Don't doubt Fitz. I'm taking the Dolphins at home. I mean, it's too obvious.
Yep.
Packers Bucks. I think this is the game
Can
of
we
the
do
week.
Pats
I think
Broncos?
this is the game of the week.
Can we blow through Pats Broncos?
Broncos
quick?
Pats. Yeah.
Oh yeah, where is it? Why don't I see it?
Right above Packers. Broncos.
Oh yeah, see, that's why I didn't want to go out of order because I fuck up.
But it's okay because I knew you were going to miss that one, so
yep,
I was ready for it.
I think this one's another fairly quick one too. The one thing I found interesting, I mean it seems like a pretty easy Pats win.
Stay away from
Drew
every
Lock,
Pat starter.
Drew Lock is. It does sound like he's going to try to start today, so that does possibly change things a little bit in the Broncos' favor. Broncos also have what I believe is currently ranked the #1 run defense in all of football.
Yes, they do.
As we saw last week with the Seattle Seahawks and their run defense, those rankings, especially at this time of year, can be misleading in how good a team is at actually doing that. But it's still at least, is something to be mindful of. And we know that now with Newton at quarterback and Brady gone, the Patriots are even more reliant on a running game than they've ever been in the past 15 to 18
When they rank
years.
those things fantasy-wise, do they go per game or do they rank total? Because if it's total,
it's cumulative.
Yeah, both.
It is.
Yeah.
It is.
Both.
You can find each. But the reason I bring that up is because to me the most intriguing fantasy play in this game is a guy I got on my season league on my year-long bench named Damian Harris, running back for the Patriots. Yep. He was having a really great camp. They were really high on him. He was starting to emerge as possibly as much of a feature back as Belichick will ever allow someone to be there, kind of unseating Sony Michel. But then he got an injury, found himself on the 3-week IR to start the season. So Michel got the role by default with Burkhead and White playing the change of pace back roles. And Michel did not do very well. And Harrison played his first game here last week, had 100 yards on 17 carries.
Michel's out.
So Michel is still out yet. So to me, Damian Harris, even in what is on paper a really bad matchup, is a really strong play both today and moving forward. If Damian Harris is somehow still on the waiver wire in your fantasy league, you need to go acquire him as soon as possible. But as far as Patriots wide receivers or passing attack in general go, I got no interest in that. Broncos, I believe Gordon is out due to a DUI, but he's still on the team. Again, you got a quarterback coming back from injury. I think Cortland Sutton is still out.
What did you say his name was? Damian Harris?
So
Damian Harris.
Sutton
is still out.
I'm going to pass on all of the Broncos offense and all the Broncos from a fantasy standpoint this week yet. And I'm going to go in on Damian Harris and the Patriots defense.
He's not available in our league.
Yeah, he shouldn't be. He shouldn't be. No. He shouldn't be. Those are the only two.
Is that why you were laughing at me?
Those are the only two fantasy stocks that I want any piece of in this game would be Damian Harris and the Patriots defense. I will pass on everything else, and I take the Patriots to win comfortably.
All right, that's all game of the week: Bucks Packs or Pack Bucks. This is the game of the week.
I'll defer to Anwar on this one.
Looks like, the Buccaneers are what we thought they were, right? They're a team that they can move the ball. They've gotten a lot of momentum
nice Denny
in the
Green
run
reference,
game.
By the way.
Of course, man.
Right.
Except in a good way. R.I.P. D. Green.
Great coach.
But going back to, just looking at the Buccaneers, they've been able to run the ball, ironically, and it hasn't been with Fournette. I think Fournette is still injured. So
he's coming back today.
Yep,
he is set to come back today.
And help me out, wide receiver on the outside.
Godwin
should be back. If Godwin is back, I think that I'm just not that impressed. Again, people are going to say what they want to say about the Packers.
Godwin's back.
Yeah.
No injury designation.
I think this will be a low-scoring game. I think this will be a 20-17 game, and I got to go Pack.
Cameron Brate's my sneaky pick this week for
tight end
fantasy. Yeah, I just it's lined up for him. Like he should have a good game against the Packers.
No Gronkowski.
I mean, here's the thing.
That's what I don't like about Brate is just there's two other guys, but I think OJ Howard's out.
OJ Howard's out. He's out for the year.
Right, so it's just Gronk.
So it's Gronk and Brate.
And they're going to shut down.
I love Brate.
Right, because they're going to try to shut down Gronk.
You can play both tight ends on this Tampa Bay team as you could previous years. For whatever reason, Tampa Bay seems to defer to the tight ends a lot. I mean, they pass the ball more than any other team last year.
And also look who's throwing the football. It's Brady, and Brady loves his tight ends, including
their head
even
coach,
when he has two on the field.
Exactly, yeah. So, and their head coach loves to do what? Throw the ball.
I'm taking the Bucs in this one, guys. I just think it's after losing – when you have a good coach, a good organization, coming off a loss, again, I'm going human element, right?
Yeah.
Like the will thing, this human will, competitive drive. You lose last week on the road in a bullshit scenario with the GOAT fucking up on fourth down. He dwelled. And when this man dwells, it's like Michael Jordan dwelling.
Are we talking Bruce Arians, though, right?
I'm talking Tom Brady.
And I mean, it was great. I mean, I saw, for one, I don't want to digress here, but I looked at Bruce Arians and did he get a facelift? He's got some Kenny Rogers type shit going on, man.
I don't know.
Did you?
But I like him. I think he's a good coach.
I don't know.
Very good coach.
Everybody likes to focus on the Buccaneers offense because of the sexy that we've talked about a lot. The Buccaneers defense right now is really freaking good.
Really good.
They're top five in yards
yep.
allowed, top 5 in rushing yards allowed, top 5 in fewest points allowed per game. The only potential chink in their armor is still in that young secondary.
Yep.
Where they're kind of in that 18 to 22
Yeah, they're my
range.
usual starter. I'm just not starting them this game.
Not a good matchup for Aaron Jones at all. Rodgers is most likely gonna have to carry this team,
which he will
win this game, which is possible. And I don't want to put it past the Packers O-line, coaching staff, and Aaron Jones to find a way to be able to run the ball with success against this Buccaneers.
It's going to be a high-scoring game
that someone hasn't already done yet this year. On the flip side, I am a huge fan of the Packers' pass defense. I love the personnel and players that they got in that young secondary, as well as with some of their rushers in the linebacking group. And Kenny Clark, nose tackle extraordinaire, who I am a massive, massive fan of, is back today now. That is their defense's primary weakness, is that front three in their 3-4, especially when Kenny Clark is out. Having Kenny Clark take up that whole one gap all by himself and bleed into the 3 gap at times now is going to make a huge difference for that defense. So I could see this being much more of like a 24-20.
Do you guys want to go a little past 11:30?
Yeah, we can do like
we're going to have to because we're running out of time.
But just to close out from a fantasy standpoint, Fournette, from what I hear, is back, and I love that from a matchup standpoint. Godwin is back. I don't know whether that is going to direct to him getting numbers or whether that's going to open things up for Evans a little more. But I think one of those two is going to have a good day today because Jair Alexander can't cover 2 guys at the same time every play. And then, on the Packers side, like I think you got to go in on it's got to be a big Rodgers and Adams day for them to
who's that unsung guy they have? Lazard.
Lazard. I do need
he's
to check
another
his injury
guy.
status, but if he's healthy, he's a really strong.
I think you got to start
wide
him.
receiver 2 or 3 or flex option.
Valdez,
Absolutely.
Scantling.
I would avoid Scantling.
He likes to drop passes.
If Lazard is healthy, avoid Scantling. If Lazard is not playing, then you can consider Scantling.
Yeah,
would be my advice on that.
But I think that Jones, though, regardless, the Packers seem committed to the run this year, so. This should be a fun game. This shouldn't be a blowout by any means.
Absolutely.
It's going to be a high-scoring game, I think.
I think 2017 is what I'm looking at for this game.
Yep, I'm looking around 50 for cumulative, give or take.
All
3.
right.
Yeah, I have the Bucs defense, and I'm sitting them this week.
People have no idea how good their linebacking core is. It's great. The Bucs.
The Bucs, oh yeah.
I mean, they got a really good defense.
18 sack guy.
With David and Barrett and White?
Yeah.
By far.
Are you kidding me?
By far.
Oh.
All right, Rams-Niners.
Oof.
Well, what direction right now the 49ers going in is the question, right? Because you guys are hearing the buzz too. Is their head coach, is Shanahan really happy with Garoppolo? I'm hearing a lot of buzz talk about doesn't know that he's the guy, even though he's injured.
They benched him last week.
Yeah.
Well, he was injured.
Yes, right.
Yeah,
they rushed him back.
Yep.
But
I mean, they had to, but
if Kirk Cousins was going to go anywhere, people, the 49ers would be the team. And if you're going to do it, you got to do it before the June 10th cut next season. Otherwise, if you don't, he'll be on the roster for 2 more years. Mm-hmm. There's no way you can walk away from $35 million. So looking at the 49ers, they gave up 43 points. I guess who hold on.
Alan Lazard is on the injured reserve currently, so you can consider Scantling because of that.
Okay, so Miami scored 43 points, right, at away, if I'm not correct, right, against San Francisco, right? What happened? Bosa, right, injured. Linebacker injured. Who are they now? Because before, you think about 49ers, great front 4, great defensive line. I think their offensive line is still a strong suit, hence why anybody they throw back there can run the ball, right? Mm-hmm. Whether it's Mostert, Jet McKinnon, or this fullback every so often. But I think Kittle's
and
still
the
injured.
other guy had a blowout game when those two were out.
Yep. And
what's
they got
his
to
name?
whoever
Jones? No,
anybody
that's
they
the Tampa
put.
Bay guy.
I think you picked him up, didn't you?
Yeah, I did. Wilson. That's his name. Wilson.
Anybody they throw back there and say, "Hey, take carries." I mean, as we saw last year, Tevin Coleman up 100 yards. Britta, oh, you're the guy. All of a sudden, right? He comes back from the broken arm. Now he's back.
Yep.
Now he's the featured guy. He's the guy who got the recognition. So, I think right now the Rams.
Yeah, basically the secret to San Francisco fantasy football is just figure out who the starting running back's going to be that week.
Or
and
you
hope
could start
have him.
You could start 2 out of the 3 sometimes and be okay with the way
the top
49ers
2.
run the ball. Yeah,
the top 2. Yep.
But the Rams right now.
Would you agree with that?
I would agree with that.
Yeah,
absolutely.
just you can safely
100%.
start the top 2 running backs for the Niners. They're going to have solid weeks every week. Maybe not blow up weeks. Number one guy might have a blowout, but
we'll take 14 points.
Any week
Right.
that Mostert is on the field for them, or however you
Start
say
him.
his name, you have to start.
and
him.
same thing with McKinnon.
He's
Yep.
in every week.
And if those 2 are out, then start the other guys.
Exactly.
Yes, it doesn't matter what the name is. Who's ever starting for the Niners in
That
the
day,
backfield,
hope you
start
have
that.
him, and
Yep.
if you do, start him.
The
I
Ra-
learned that lesson earlier.
The Rams. So now the
Earlier this
Rams have
year.
a tight end who they took in the second round a few years ago,
Igby.
who I think starting to emerge. Higbee and the other guy. There's another guy they have too that they seem to really favor their tight ends. But more importantly, Woods was a killer in Buffalo. Right, knew he was going to be great when he signed with the Rams. And even help me out
Cooper
here,
Kupp.
Cooper Kupp. Right.
Yep.
Unsung. I mean,
Solid
the guy just
play
goes out
every
there and
week.
make plays. Right. And I mean, I think they really.
And Goff is one of the most productive fantasy quarterbacks in the league.
Yeah, and they run the ball still, regardless. They commit to the run. Help me out, Henderson.
They got a few of them,
Then
actually.
Mac Brown would
Mac-
be
yeah.
the guy that spells him.
But they
short
commit to the
yardage
run
sometimes,
game,
but-
Is it
right?
Mac or Malcolm?
Malcolm, you're right.
Yeah, Malcolm,
You're right,
yeah.
Malcolm. Yep.
Because again, when
Good
you look
catch.
at the Rams'
I wasn't even
offense,
sure.
it's predicated on the run, right? This run option. It's still the same thing. They pass the ball and they're great at it, but Jared Goff, a lot of plays in play action.
I think given
That's a great take.
obviously the injuries for the 49ers on both sides of the ball are playing a huge impact in all these San Francisco games.
Yep.
Where I think it's hit them the hardest, and they weren't really in a position to be hit there hard anyway, was in their secondary. And so I'm really liking Cooper Kupp and especially Robert Woods in this game. The reason I like Woods a little bit more than Kupp is because Kupp is more of a do-it-all receiver where he is going to run a lot of shorter, over-the-middle, yards after catch, slot-based type of routes, where that is a little bit yet into the strength of the 49ers defense with their linebacking core. Whereas Woods is going to be on the edges battling backup corners all day long. So I like them both, but I really like
Brown.
Woods. I really like Woods.
Should I start Brown? Here's who I got. I got Jones for Tampa Bay, Freeman, and I forgot. I picked up Malcolm Brown, and I got Hill from Atlanta.
I'd stay away from it. Well, yeah, I would. You got a lot of handcuffs.
See, because I don't know how Henderson is going to, if Henderson takes away red zone and goal line carries away from Brown has very little to no value.
Yeah, because Chubb is still injured.
And I feel like Henderson has been progressing towards that role of more of a, I'm the guy and everybody else just spells me when I need someone to spell me. But it's not quite fully there yet. So that's a tough call. That is a really tough call.
I know, right?
Let's check the Niners run defense here quick on that.
Yeah, it's a tough that's a tough one, man.
Let's check the
I mean,
Niners run
here's the
defense.
thing. You look at Malcolm Brown. He's got a total of 45 carries, 183 yards, 4 yards a carry, and 2 touchdowns.
It's dependent on touchdowns.
But now you look at Darrell Henderson averaging about a yard more carry, right? At 20 carries versus Buffalo.
It says San Fran's great. ESPN's saying San Fran's great against the run.
But the thing about the Rams is that they're committed to running the ball. They're going to run the ball 22, 25 times.
Yeah, and he's not a starting running back. So the other guys I have are the number one running back.
Yeah, Darrell
on the
Henderson, I
roster.
think, is their guy, and they will run the ball if need be. But I think
I'm not gonna fucking pull a Ruxin from the league. I'm not a tinkerer, right? Like I thought about this deeply all week.
I think I'd still stay Jones.
Yeah, and these guys are starting running backs, which is why I slotted them in. Everybody else is a backup running back. I have them because I'm depending on them later in the season for Melvin Gordon and Henderson to get injured, and I can start these guys later in the year.
We call those handcuffs in the fantasy world.
That's right.
Right.
So all right. So I'm taking the Rams on this one. I think the Niners. I kind of saw it coming with the Super Bowl hangover. We talked about that in the football show that didn't air. We did. I kind of predicted the Super Bowl hangover. Again, there's this weird thing because this is that old John Madden quote, like, 50% of football is 80% mental, or 80% of, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's true because there's so little that separates the talent from team to team in the NFL. The competition level is so high. There's two things that really factor into the difference between a good team and a bad team in the NFL. Number one is attention to detail from the coaching staff and the players. And number two is will, which really translates into discipline, both on the field and off the field. Parlaying back to your thing about the overweight running backs coming in their second year because they lack the off-field discipline. So I'm going Rams on this one because I just think the Niners are broken right now, and if they don't turn it around in the next couple seasons, Shanahan's going to be out of a job.
Everything suggests that I should be picking the Rams in this game, but I'm picking the Niners in this game because I feel towards the Rams the way I think that a lot of people feel towards the Bears or some of these other winning teams. I'm not sold on them yet.
All right.
Bills, Chiefs. So I'm picking Niners just for that
going
reason,
back,
and it's home.
Really quick, though, but going back to the 49ers, I don't think they're diseased. I think injuries have just really...
No, I don't think they're diseased.
I think the injuries play a big role.
Diseased?
No, you didn't. Okay. I don't think they're a disease organization.
I said broken. That's what I meant.
There you go.
I think a lot of it is just...
That's a good
and
word.
I literally mean that because of injuries. I think they're emotionally shattered from the loss.
Yeah, but
everything.
The question is always...
They're basically rebuilding.
Who's their number one option at wide receiver? Debo Samuels, right? Hasn't been
In
out
my
there.
opinion, it's Brandon Ayuk.
Yeah, Brandon Ayuk or
Stephon Diggs version 2.0,
Exactly.
as I thought when I was scouting him for
or
the draft.
Kittles, right?
Yep, Kittle. Yeah.
Okay, so
He's
Kittle's
been
out.
Kittle's
been
injured.
out.
He's injured, right? So
I think he
even
might
if
be
he's
back
not,
now.
if he's not out, he's still injured.
And
he's
then-
nicked up.
then they go
Yes,
get
correct.
Justin, what's his name, Reed.
Jordan Reed,
Jordan
yeah.
Reed, and then he gets injured
Yep.
again, out for the year.
Yeah,
so just
he
a
actually had a little resurgence
great game.
there.
Yeah.
All right, Bills, Chiefs.
All right. This to me is a tough one. Not that I'm huge on the Bills, but I expected the Bills to be around a 12-4 team this year for a couple reasons. And so far they look really good. Josh Allen, first and foremost, has appeared to really taken a step in his development as a quarterback with the addition of Stephon Diggs.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, from a fantasy standpoint, what Josh Allen can do for you on the ground, in addition now to the threats that he's got in the air, and the Chiefs' defense, Chiefs always find themselves in shootouts. Their defense isn't necessarily their strength. That's not to say it's a weakness, though, either. But, I mean, so this should be, you're looking for the Bills to be scoring a lot of points in this game, I would think. Or at least more than their usual. You're going to look for their point production in this game to be up a little bit from normal.
Yeah.
And because of the Bills' defense, and it's in Buffalo, I would think the Chiefs would be down just a little bit. Now, is that enough to get them to fully crisscross to where the Bills beat the Chiefs? I don't know.
Yeah.
But I really don't trust the interior of the Chiefs' offensive line. I didn't going into the season when your starting right guard is named Mike Remmers.
Yeah.
And then now when starting left guard, Kenichi Osemele,
out for the year.
Pro Bowler, out
IR,
for the
yeah.
year,
IR, yeah.
season-ending IR, not this 3-week
He's
IR
out.
that we got now. He's gone. That really concerns me for how that's going to affect the Chiefs' offense moving forward. If you're going to get a rush on Mahomes, it's most likely going to come from the middle.
Yeah.
The way that Clyde Edwards-Helaire has been able to play this year too has been a big part of their success. And when all three of the guys in the middle of the O-line are weak, that's probably going to change eventually here too. So if nothing, not necessarily for the season, but for this week in time and place and everything, I like the Bills to win this game. From a fantasy standpoint, I'm definitely liking Josh Allen a ton. I'm liking Stephon Diggs a ton. I'm probably avoiding Devin Singletary or any other Bills running back. And then from a Chiefs standpoint, I'm probably looking more at, I mean, obviously Kelsey's an always start. Mahomes isn't always start, but I wouldn't take Mahomes in daily this week at all. I'd completely avoid him. I'd avoid Tyreek Hill if I could. I think this is more of a Sammy Watkins and Travis Kelce type of game, working the
On the
short
daily
middle
side
of the
of things?
field. Yep. And and then because it might be a kind of grounded out lower scoring game given the Bills defense, I think Clyde is still a decent play from a touches standpoint.
Gotcha.
But I think his ceiling is definitely lower this week than what we've seen the last several weeks.
Yeah.
I think his floor is still all right. You still play Clyde if you got him. I mean, his
Yeah.
floor is still solid enough.
It is. I think when you look at the more successful offenses, one of the first things you notice about them is returning starters, right? So you look at the Chiefs O-line, you look at all the additions, no subtractions really, right? With the exception of the Damian Harris, I think, elected to stay out COVID. So now all of a sudden you have an O-lineman gets injured, right? That gets injured in the Raiders game.
Mm-hmm.
They were not the same team after that. And that's because when you have a team that gels, that plays together, same system, same offense, now you throw in a Mike Rimmers, right? And he didn't have the same – he had to escape more in the pocket. He had to move around a lot more in Pat Mahomes in the pocket than I mean, the Super Bowl was the last time I saw him move around that much against the Raiders in the second half of that game, right? And how he looked basically the whole game against the 49ers. So, looking at the Chiefs, the Bills, they got embarrassed by the Titans last week. I think they gave up 30-some-odd points, almost 400 yards of total offense, a little over that. What they said is, our defense is, we're human. We do bleed. I think the Chiefs are going to have a rebound game because I think great organizations figure out a way to make a guy like Mike Rimmers work.
Titans had 2 weeks to get ready for that Bills game due to the COVID rescheduling of their bye the week before that too.
Yeah, and that was a nasty. I mean, what did they give up? 36 points?
I think it was 42. 42, 44. It was a lot.
So who you got?
I got the Chiefs. I think the Chiefs are going to put up some points. I think I would personally start either quarterback. I would start Diggs, and I'd start both. Matter of fact, I'd even go I would go Tyreek Hill in this game because I think that this will be a game that the Chiefs remind you who they are, Super Bowl champions.
I love me some Mr. Gilmore.
Yeah.
I love me some Mr. Gilmore, so that's where I'm going to shy a little bit away from Tyreek Hill this week, personally.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm
there's world-class speed,
I'm with
though,
you guys
and
on all
Tyreek
that.
Hill is up there.
I like Gilmore's height advantage on Hill.
He's
I
a
think
physical
he can run
corner.
with him for the most part. So
All right, so my deep take on this game is what they said. So there we go. No, for real though. For
one more and then it's Vikes.
Here's the thing is literally you guys kind of like both said everything I was literally going to say. I don't have a different version or a different take on that. That's word for word. Plus for time, it just makes sense. So literally, we got one left. Let's make this one quick. Let's do a total of 5 minutes on it. Because that leaves us a solid half hour.
Give me a minute then with this. I'll do 1 minute. So,
Cardinals Cowboys for the listeners.
Oh yeah, Cowboys
I didn't
Cardinals.
say it out loud. So Cardinals at Cowboys.
Andy Dalton got a raw deal. I understand the whole rebuild thing as we've talked about. I can't stress enough of that. That's the sexy thing to do. But he was relatively productive for 6 years in Cincinnati. They threw him in a close game, and he looked like what I think Kirk Cousins was supposed to be when you insert quarterback in this situation. Made some key throws. You could tell he was preparing as a starter the whole year. Mentally, physically ready to go out there and make plays. The Cardinals, I was high, and I still am, on Kyler Murray because I think that he's a young quarterback and a very innovative offensive coordinator who wanted this kid, right? Made sure he wound up with him. Traded 7th overall pick in Rosens just to get him, So I think this will be a fun game, to be honest with you. I don't think it'll be a crazy amount of defense played. I think the Cowboys have shown you that they'll score points. What I think we'll see more of Zeke. I think more screens, more checkdowns. So I like the Cowboys in this game.
Nice. See, I could see this game going either way. I really could. Cowboys home field advantage. Cowboys, you were mentioning before we started recording, Cowboys have all-world left tackle Trenton Smith back now.
Yeah.
That is huge for them.
Did you say
All
All
yes,
world.
I did say all world
Yeah.
because that's how good that dude is.
That's
That
awesome.
dude's a
One
first
all
ballot
world,
Hall of
yes.
Famer. That dude is first ballot Hall of Famer.
8-year contract,
He's
I think, when
that
they signed
good.
him. They locked
He's
him up
that
for almost a
good.
decade.
What's his name?
But so
Trenton Smith.
Trenton Smith. So with a less mobile quarterback back there, as well as a backup quarterback back there, even more valuable to have him back now than normally in the line. That's going to be a huge help to the Cowboys. They should be able to run the ball on this Cardinals defense fairly well.
Yeah.
Cardinals pass defense is really, really good though. So I think if the Cardinals are going to win, what you're going to have to see is the Cardinals defense kind of have a push with that really high-powered Cowboys offense that we've seen with Cooper and Lamb and Zeke and Gallup. I mean, they've got a lot of skill on that side of the ball, plus the offensive line. You're going to need to see a push there, and then you're going to need to see the Cardinals take advantage of that seemingly advantage that they have over the Cowboys defense. It does appear on paper that the Cardinals should beat the Cowboys D in this game. So that said, you gotta love DeAndre, you gotta love Kyler Murray, Kenyon Drake. You can definitely consider, but I don't know that he's necessarily a strong play, but he's not a bad play. On the Cowboys side, I am benching CeeDee Lamb for the first time since week 1 in my yearly league because I don't like the matchup. I think it's a total toss-up as to which one of those 3 receivers today actually gets the stats because there ain't enough to go around for all 3 of them like there has been. And I think a lot of the yards and opportunities are going to go to Zeke as well. So I'm all in on Zeke today. I wouldn't feel good with any more than one Cowboys receiver, and your guess is as good as mine on which one's going to end up being the one today. And then
who's the true one there? Cooper
is,
Cooper's
but
the true one,
so is Gallup.
Lamb is
but then you got Gallup,
but
who's
who's
also
slotted in the traditional one slot?
Cooper.
That's who I'm starting then because I know Andy Dalton. They're my Bengals used to be my secret AFC team.
Did you watch the last game though?
Yeah.
Who do you throw the ball to late in games?
I get it. It was Gallup. I get it.
Yeah.
I understand that. But I know Dalton, and he throws heavily because we're talking on a fantasy perspective, right? Like you're talking real world football in a comeback
both.
scenario.
Situationally,
here's my
they
point.
did need bigger chunks of yards and smaller amounts of time though when they were going to Gallup.
And
Gallup
my only point
is kind of more the deep ball.
And fantasy wise, Dalton feeds that
proverbial
he's used to
number
an
one
AJ
receiver.
Green. He likes that number one.
That's what I'm saying.
Number
Whoever
one.
that is,
That's a really good point.
Whoever's in that spot, Dalton feeds that spot.
That's a really good point.
So when you're going, it's a toss up because you do have 2 of them. I think Cooper then would be. That's why I asked who it is because to me the name doesn't even matter. It's schematically who's in that spot to his left side. You know what I mean, or his right side. However he makes his first read.
And that's where I totally agree.
Because he's a left-handed quarterback. No, he's a right-handed quarterback.
I'm going, okay, schematically, why wouldn't I expect the Cardinals to come out and focus on Cooper as the receiver that they choose to shut down?
They will.
Team
they will, but
so
Dalton will still. If he's a good one like AJ Green or who was before Green in Cincinnati, there was his name. They've had 3 or 4 or 5 wide receivers.
Who's your mama?
Chad Ochocinco.
There you go. All of those guys. When Dalton's in there, those guys are safe bets because of who's feeding them the ball.
I think that would have been help me out. Heisman Trophy USC. I think that would have been more in that era.
Well,
oh, geez.
Carson Palmer.
And
here's where I'm going with this is look, now all of a sudden Dalton's not in Cincinnati, AJ Green not getting fed. See what I'm saying? So traditionally that quarterback is going to feed that position. And I think it's the X wide receiver. Schematically, I think it's the X because the other side's the Z and then the slot's the Y.
I mean, looking at the Cowboys
God,
offense,
Slot,
though.
slot might be the X too.
God, you might be right. I can't. Fuck. I can't. I think you're right. I think you're right. It's been so long.
Looking
since
at the
I've actually
Cowboys
looked at that.
offense,
So he'd probably be your Z wide receiver.
Correct.
one of the things that Andy Dalton
Either way,
does is
that's my point.
Either way.
If you're looking at
Great
one of those
point.
guys and you're like,
Yeah.
I don't know who to start. If you have them both, personally, I'd go Cooper only
I
because
agree.
of that.
I agree.
Yeah.
Unless we got it wrong and Gallup's the actual number one, then go Gallup.
No. If anything, Gallup's on his way to being the number 3.
Yeah, but I think
CD Lamb's the real deal.
All right, well, let's wrap this up so we can get to the Vikings.
Yeah, but I
'cause-
think in this Cowboys matchup, though, Andy Dalton is good at feeding receivers. I mean, watching the last game, what you saw was him spread the ball and look at the matchups more than anything. So there were reads that had to be made in order to find the one-on-ones, right, with the slot going down the field. So I think the Cowboys can pull this off. They can score points, but they can't stop anybody on defense.
Yep. I'm going
Right.
Cowboys as well, but I think it's a total coin flip. A Cardinals win
Yeah.
wouldn't surprise me at all.
the only person I would start on that Cardinals team is Hopkins.
I'd
I
start
I start the
Murray.
quarterback
I'd start
I
Kyler
all day.
too.
I don't believe in Kyler Murray. He's got a really large forehead, and that bugs me.
What?
Jared, here's the thing. I got all kinds of weird reasons. You know why I don't like Jared Goff? His eyes are too close together.
They
I don't
are.
trust anybody whose eyes are that close together. But he's actually a great quarterback. And as far as fantasy concerned, real world's a different story. But I think the Cowboys are going to suddenly gel and look better this week. For
on defense?
On the whole,
Offense look
on
pretty
the
good.
whole side of things. And here's why. Everything we talked about earlier in the podcast, so they've got 4 or 5 games under their belt. I think now with Dalton in, they're going to keep it a little bit more conservative, a little bit more simple for the next couple of weeks, establish the run more, which is going to establish more time of possession, right? So they're going to force Kyler Murray into and we know it's going to be fairly high scoring. So they're going to force Kyler Murray into having to make a lot of decisions because it is kind of a complex defense, and that's really what their issue is in Dallas, is that they're confusing their own players, much like the Falcons, which we'll get to in a little bit here.
My last thing on Kyler, because he is my quarterback on my fantasy team.
I would
Wasn't
start
the
him.
guy I targeted the
Yeah.
most. I got Rodgers as my backup.
Cool. I'm just
So, I mean,
predict.
I'm
I'm just
sitting
making
good
my
every
prediction.
week.
I'm just making my prediction. I think
Rushing
he's going to throw.
touchdowns
But
equals 6 points.
I think he's going to
I
have a
love
bad day, man.
Murray's usage
Yeah.
in Kingsbury's offense.
Agreed.
That's what I trust from a fantasy standpoint. I don't trust Murray from like a GM
Right. No, I get
quarterback
it.
that takes me
Yep.
to the Super Bowl someday.
I'm
stance
still
per
not starting him
se.
in fantasy if
But
I
from
have it.
where he's at from a usage standpoint right now in the system on the team that he's with and in, those are reliable opportunities.
He's going to put
every
up
week.
points against
Yep,
Dallas. I'm
yep,
telling you, man.
yep.
Okay, I get it. I get
There's
it.
never
And
going to be a week where he
I think
only has
there-
20
you
attempts
guys,
and doesn't
I
have
understand.
yards on
I'm
the
just
ground.
simply making my prediction
Okay.
that's
Yep.
that's the bust of the day. Is like he should have a great day. I'm saying I don't believe it's going to happen. For your sake, I hope
Cowboys
I'm
might
wrong.
have the ball for 45 minutes of that
Yeah.
game.
For
with
your
Zeke on
sake,
the
I
ground,
hope
too.
I'm wrong, and he has a blowout day, and unless I'm going up against him in my league, and then I hope he shits the bed. But
Time of
you get my
possession.
point. You get
Time
my
of-
point.
Time of
I
possession.
just something
won by
is
the
telling me
Cowboys
in my gut.
will result in that.
And that's what I'm saying. In my gut, I'm telling you, I think Kyler Murray has a horrible day. I think the Cardinals get smashed. I think he has a bad day in fantasy. And if I'm the only guy I'm starting is Hopkins.
If the Cowboys win time of possession 40-20, we're going to see what you said happen completely.
And it could.
Did your
And
gut
that
tell you
very
to
much
pick up
could.
that Washington defense,
Very
too?
much could.
He could also get injured right away. You know, there's a million things that.
What
could
about
happen,
that
'cause
Washington
He's one
defense?
of those quarterbacks that runs around, and he's not the biggest dude.
No,
right?
no,
so
he's small.
so like all of the factors are there for him to have either a great game or a shit game. He's boom or bust today, and I think he's the bust
I'll
of the
totally
day.
agree with that.
All right.
Cool. All right.
I
And
think
yes,
20 minutes.
yes, it is the same gut that told me to start the Washington defense.
So we got 20 minutes for
which,
our
dude,
bikes.
All right.
Don't even front because you know I made some sneaky nice starts this year on defense.
Do I?
I have. Yeah. Yeah, bruh. When you started Washington's defense week 1 or 2, and I started Arizona's defense and put up like 26 points, yeah, bud.
What about it?
All right, so Vikes Falcons.
Bikes, Falcons.
What
All right.
What
so
about?
What about it? What about it?
let's just
about to
go
go 3 and
me
3
in the-
today.
in the obvious place with this matchup. Both of these defenses have given up a lot of yards and a lot of points, especially through the air.
Yep.
Statistically, the Falcons' run defense has been middle of the pack thus far, while the Vikings' run defense has been bottom third. That said, the Vikings have a better running offense, even without Dalvin Cook, in my opinion, than the Falcons have a running offense. So the Vikings are going to have to do similar to last week in embracing the weakness of the opposing defense being the passing defense. They're going to need to open it up a little more. And Cook being out is just all the more reason to do that too. That's not to say that you've got Kirk dropping back 50 times and you abandon the run right out of the gate. That's not what I'm saying at all. But when we normally try to do what we try to do and be who we want to be, we're balanced but lean to the run. Today we need to be balanced, leaning to the pass. That is the weakness to exploit in this matchup from a Viking standpoint. So I locked in Justin Jefferson on my daily fantasy lineup because he's only about $6,000. They're going to be focusing on Thielen. They're going to throw the ball, and there should be plenty of yards there for him.
Can I add to your stat?
Yeah.
Going into the last week's game, Justin Jefferson was the number one wide receiver on Pro Football Focus.
Mm-hmm.
So
True. And granted, he has dropped a couple spots since last week.
Well, I hope he shits the bed because what's his name? Levitators or whatever the fuck his name is just starting him today. So I hope he fucking breaks his goddamn leg and then magically gets healed for next week.
One of the two Vikings receivers should have a huge day, and both of them could have big days at the same time.
I hope it's not Jefferson because I dropped him earlier this season.
I would not expect Rudolph and Irv to be very good fantasy plays. We just haven't seen that out of them this year. Rudolph is strictly touchdown or bust. If he doesn't get you a touchdown, he's a bad fantasy play every week.
Yeah, I don't like any of the tight ends.
Irv doesn't have enough involvement anywhere in this offense.
Last week,
really
though, what did he show you?
Considerable. He showed
he
you that
make
he can
plays.
contribute.
If you throw him the ball, he'll make some great catches, right?
Yep, absolutely. So Irv could be a sneaky pick in like daily leagues because he's gonna come with a really low cost,
like $500,
and he might get you. And there's a real good chance he gets you 5 catches for 60 yards, or somewhere in there. And when you're only paying $3,000 in daily sports for that, like you're going to be doing pretty good, especially from the tight end position where the top score is only 10 points higher than that anyway.
Yeah.
So then Vikings wise, we look at Cousins and we look at Madison. That's what's left from a fantasy standpoint. I think Cousins is a good play today. That said, you should probably have a better quarterback on your team than Kirk Cousins for fantasy football. But he's worth considering today given how bad the Falcons' pass defense has been all year this year. And if you factor in on the other side that the Falcons' offense has been high-powered and our defense hasn't stopped very many people or given up or stopped a lot of points or a lot of yards, we might see a really high-scoring game with these two defunct, inept defenses today in the Vikings and the Falcons. So that's going to take carries away from Madison. That's going to put passing attempts on Cousins' side more than we're accustomed to seeing in our run-first offense. So it's going to fall a lot on the Vikings coaching staff. Are they willing to be who they need to be in that game to beat that opponent in that matchup, or do they continue to insist on this is our identity and who we are and what we do, and that's just what we're going to do, and if you stop it, then you win, and if you don't, then we win. The last thing I'll throw in is the turnovers. It's the great equalizer. And the crazy thing looking at the turnovers in this Vikings-Falcons matchup, on the season, the Falcons are +1 for turnover differential. The Vikings are -5. Okay? So the Vikings cannot come out of this game losing the turnover battle 2-1 or 1-0 or 3-2 or whatever. It's got to be even or in the Vikings' favor, or the Falcons are most likely going to end up winning this game. If the turnovers continue to go the way they've gone this whole season. Because the Vikings they've done a lot of good things on paper, but at the end of the day, they always find a way to undo all those good things, whether it be with untimely penalties, questionable decision-making, or what have you. So
I'm going to have you wrap it up. So I'm going to jump
Falcons,
in now.
I love Calvin Ridley today.
Yeah.
Calvin Ridley, holy cow, all in on Calvin Ridley. And Matt Ryan is a great start.
I go
as well.
both receivers.
And without Julio Jones, Gage is a sneaky pick if you're
Julio
desperate.
is in today,
Yeah, he's in.
but
Oh,
Gage
is he?
is still involved, even with Julio
And
back.
I think, dude,
even with Julio back.
I just don't know how much I believe in Julio anymore. I think he's banged up. There's something off about him. I've seen this year in and year out with a different receiver where, the age shouldn't be an issue yet, but for some reason they're
Mileage,
not
though.
the same. Yeah, exactly.
We're looking at it in years
And
instead
I
of
think
miles.
unfortunately we're looking at Julio's year, where
so, too.
he'll still be in the league another year or two, but he might get cut at the end of the season. Like there's some sort of nagging injury, something's going on,
He kind of looks like where Fitzgerald's at in his career now a little bit, just like where I can still produce, but I'm
earlier.
not the same.
Yeah. Yeah, and so like
And
I said,
Fitz is further along.
Yeah, I mean, he might have to restructure his contract or something to stick in Atlanta. And he seems like a pretty legit dude. I don't anticipate him bouncing around.
Mhm.
But one thing I want to address before we get too more into the analytics, dude, is like, if the Vikings lose this game, I want to put this to bed now. We need to stop calling for Zimmer and Spielman's head because I was deep diving.
I can't do that. I can't promise you that.
I was deep diving this
you
because
might be right, but I can't promise you that.
I was deep diving this. Since Zimmer has been here, in a total of 101 games, he is 58, 42, and 1.
That's
is
a good record.
That's a winning percentage of 579.
That's good.
That's including this season. As bad as this season is,
That's even better then.
as bad as this season is, he is still, to this day, a winning percentage of 579 since he's been here.
I want to add to that too.
So we could not win a game the rest of the season, and he'll still probably be a 500.
Yeah.
Above.
I want to
Above by this math.
I want to add to this
Yep.
here.
That was my point.
Literally
Thanks,
by
yeah.
this math,
Yep.
he would have to lose every game this season. How many is there left? 10 games? 11 games? Plus the next 4 of next season or something like that.
The mystery, though, going into this season, was this a retool or was this a rebuild for the Vikings, right? And your 3 games, in the 3 games, they, aside from the Colts game, they could very easily be, 3-1?
That sounds right.
Right? Aside from the Colts game. The issue that the Vikes have had is the same issue that a lot of teams have had. When you don't have a preseason, when you got a couple of new starters on the offensive line, you got another young wide receiver that you just can't integrate into the offense. So all the impatient people saying, well, where's Jefferson? Learning how to play in the NFL because there was no preseason, right? There was nothing to give you game film. This is what it looks like, right? So, the Vikings very easily could be a 3-1 team. And they can do this because of the culture they have, because the guys still seem to be responsive to the coaching. And I say that because the defense looks a lot better than it did the first game of the season. And it's got, for the most part, it's gotten better and better. You have 2 young cornerbacks and 2 rookies. They're going to make rookie mistakes. You're going to put them on an island with no safety help over top. Are these guys going to learn from their mistakes? Holton Hill, guess what? Didn't see him last game. I wonder why. Okay? So Mike Zimmer isn't afraid to hold you accountable. And I think that overall, he gives you an identity. We have a great problem in Minnesota, and what is that? That's we lost a lot of great coordinators to head coaching.
That's what I was going to
Right? I mean,
that's a great segue.
Shermer, K-Stuff, you name it.
Yeah.
Yep.
No, well, and I'm looking at it here. His first season, you got to understand, Spielman came from a very chaotic scenario. Okay, so he came in to replace as a last-minute addition to the pyramid of excellence under Chile. I can't remember that fucking guy's name, but he got busted lying on his resume. Remember this GM that got booted?
vaguely.
After the draft, by the way. So he's here with Chile, so that wasn't really even his coach, but we had a little bit of a run, right? And he put some pieces together. You got Brett Favre here, you know what I mean? We got Rob Brzezinski, so we got this magic cap. Like it's magic. And then we go into Frazier. Okay, so we experienced the depths of how bad this organization has ever been. 3-13 is the worst we've ever been. We've never had the number 1 pick in the NFL draft ever. Okay. We rarely pick in the top 10. These are traditions that go back to things like you were saying, bad organizations, shitty organizations consistently draft in the top 10. Okay. The Vikings almost never do. And when we do, we always get out of it. Okay. But under Frazier, it was clear that we were in trouble. Okay. But Spielman had proven twice that he's capable of at least drafting enough players with the right coach to get us out of that disease spot. So we've got a good GM. Not saying he's the best, not saying we should
Fran Foley guy. Is that what you're talking about?
That's exactly who I'm talking about. So we get Zimmer. Now, Zimmer's first season taking over for a disease franchise. I think we went 5-11. Frazier's last year here. We went 3-13. Then we made a playoff run.
Yeah, we took Barr, I think, in the next draft with that 5 and whatever record.
Yeah. So
Barr was Zimmer's first draft pick when Zimmer was here.
So Zim comes in. He goes 7-9. Okay. The next season we make the playoffs with Teddy. We lose to Seattle. Okay. That was also, I believe, the North Turner year. If it wasn't, then it was the following year. Okay. We go 8-8. We miss the playoffs.
That was probably the North Turner.
North Turner. No, that was the year that Bradford was our quarterback, because who stepped in was help me out, head coach for the Giants. Shermer stepped in.
So that would have been the 8-8 year.
Yeah, that was the 8-8 year.
Okay, so that's 2016. Then 2017, they go 13-3. They make the playoffs. Okay, they win the first game against New Orleans, Minneapolis Miracle. They go on to lose in Philly. What happens? Pat Shermer leaves. Okay, the following season, we go 7-9. Or I'm sorry, we go 8-7-1. Okay.
Because we
missed
hired
the playoffs.
Filippo instead of promoting Kevin Stefanski.
Okay. Now the following season, which is last year, we go 10-6. We win a wild card game on the road this time, and then go lose in San Francisco. For all intents and purposes, you look at the pattern. This was gonna be a retool year because we lose players and we lose coaches every time we're successful. This is the sign of the beginnings of a great organization. Someday they're going to look back and they're going to talk about if we don't fire him, if we don't can him, if we don't blow this thing up and do the sexy thing, someday they're going to look back and they're going to go, the Mike Zimmer coaching tree. Because this guy, people get head coaching jobs working for this man. And so we need to remain patient, because I'm telling you, everything I can look at, Vikings are still going to figure out how to go 7-9 this year. They're not going to go 3-13.
And even if they don't,
they're going to go 7-9. Like, this is not a dead year.
But even if they don't, you see, being a fan, the hardest part is the realism element to it, right? Having realistic expectations. You're always going to go into it with a slight bias, because if you're a fan, there's a lot of hope, right? Hope gives us purpose. So you have hope. That means I hope the Vikings win, so much so that from Monday to Sunday, I'm thinking about the Vikings, because they're going to give me that ray of hope, and my Sunday's going to be a little better if they win. But as a real fan, I just want to see them compete, because they're a young team. You can't go look. You lose Everson Griffin on your defensive as a defensive end. He was all pro up until he had his mental breakdown, a meltdown. You have an all pro on the other side in Daniil Hunter. All right. Now we all know he's a bit biased on this, but the anchor we had in the middle, Linderville Joseph, is made a big difference in San Diego. The guy can do one thing great, and that's stop the run. You don't have that anymore. So now you go out there and you sign a guy, right? In a lot of people's opinions, a very elite defensive tackle at stopping the run, which is why the Ravens' run defense was a lot better last year than it was this year, even though it's still pretty good.
And then he opts out.
Exactly. Yeah. Then he opts out for COVID. So now you don't have anybody. So your GM, in a Madden-like move, makes a very aggressive maneuver to do what? To take a second and third overall round pick and get a pretty good defensive end. Great move. Now, if you come back healthy, if you're
especially because I think we have extras of those the years we traded those picks, I think we still have a second round.
Yeah, we got a
and
second.
we still have a third round because I don't think they're in the same draft.
We don't have a second round. So we got a first round pick. We don't have a second round pick next year.
I guarantee you, Spielman will figure out how to pick one up.
Even if we don't, but all it's saying is we need to hit a home run if we don't finish well, right?
I got a Pierce comment and a staff comment.
Go for it.
Dude, take your time.
My one hang up with the Pierce situation
we got about 10, 12 minutes.
is simply this. At the time the Vikings chose to make him the heir to Linval Joseph, committed financially, this is our guy, this is who we're picking. At that time, COVID was a part of our world. Also at that time, Michael Pierce had his pre-existing respiratory condition.
Good point.
So, knowing these two things and still committing to that guy, you knew this possibility was much greater. At least you should have known. And so why did you invest all that money into one dude? Why didn't you make sure to have a backup plan where, well, we drafted James Lynch or whatever, and we got big plans, or we got one more veteran, or why didn't you choose a different D tackle to give $10 million a year to? That's my only.
So I got a question for you then.
With that situation,
who makes that choice? So who is that? Who is that though? Because
I would assume that's a Spielman choice.
Okay, so
certainly assume.
This is where I think fans need to really understand just the hierarchy, just the tree itself. When you have a GM that is not your head coach, he is responsible for most of the personnel, whether it's the coaches, the draft. That's why you hire a GM. When you determine your head coach is the GM, you're saying not only can he build a culture, but he can bring in the right guys, as like i.e. Bill Belichick or even O'Brien, right, before he got fired. But you can look at a list of guys and understand, from a cultural standpoint, who is responsible. In this case, I think Zimmer has a little bit more pull because he is pretty successful as far as, firing a coordinator, right?
Yeah, I think he's got a little bit more
But when you
pull.
think about player personnel, it's no secret in Minnesota that's Spielman's job. He takes pride in that. Matter of fact, didn't want Christian Ponder. That was his deal right there, right? But he took him anyway. So
I think is what happens for our organization specifically is Zimmer tells him the type of player to go get, and then Spielman goes and finds the best type he can get.
We'll have to do some research on this, though.
And I'm not talking just like long, lean, big, stout. I'm saying like I think they really break it down into like, this is what I'm looking for, and then Spielman relieves Zimmer of the time to go find that guy on another team.
I think that's kind of his. So I knew Everson Griffin's brother, Charles, right? And we used to work together, and he would tell me about the conversations that Spielman had with Everson Griffin, right? So this was, kind of a move that, I think it is cool.
Everson wasn't drafted under Zimmer. He was a Frazier guy.
Everson Griffin,
third round
Frazier
pick.
started in 2006, right? So, I mean, not Frazier, Spielman. So 2006 was his first year as our head coach.
Right. I'm just saying their relationship and how they did things could have been different. I'm only speaking about Zimmer and Spielman.
Here's what I'm saying. I'm saying
Spielman's
that
total career.
What he told me is that Spielman had a conversation saying to him that you're going to be a number one guy. Like, you fail fourth or fifth round because of this, but we see potential in you.
This is our vision for
so we're not talking about just the draft. We're talking about what the general manager does within the Vikings organization. So he's very hands-on with the players, right, as opposed to maybe culture. It all depends. We'd have to seriously do a deep dive to understand the Vikings culture, right? Who says what? Who does
and I'm
that?
just speculating.
And
I don't have any
what
sources
you said
on this.
ties into the only answer to
I have no idea
my
what I'm
own
talking
question
about.
that I can come up with. And that answer is that Spielman, when looking at Pierce, valued what he can contribute to the long-term picture, at a greater, value than the risk of you won't get to play this year. Like, there is a chance that he won't get to play with the COVID stuff and his lung condition or whatever this year. But what he can do for us over the next 4 to 5 years, total.
And if that's the move,
outweighs that one lost season potentially.
Long term or short term battle.
We'll just have to wait and see if
that was his plan going in, then it's a genius move. If he wasn't thinking that way, then it's a boneheaded move, right?
Well,
so
now,
like,
and again, there's no way to know.
But
yet
think
at
about this
point,
though.
You know,
you sign, your Jaguars guy, right? Let's say he finishes with 13 sacks. You let Hunter
5 minutes.
Okay, you let Hunter sit, right, for the year. Next year, you got a pretty, on paper, a pretty formidable defensive line, right? But what I noticed from good organizations is the development of talent. Now, one thing that we've agreed upon is the Vikings aren't just going to throw a rookie in there, i.e., what did we see last week? Finally, we saw Lynch come in, and what did he do? He got a sack, right?
Yep.
He got a sack because that's what he does. That's what he's going to do. But
can't stop, won't stop.
Yeah, they don't just throw him.
His fundamentals on that was just so fun to watch, man.
It was,
the way
wasn't
he
it?
landed both hands
and his
into the
motor.
chest of his
Saw too.
blocker
Yeah.
and just marched him back.
And he did that
was
in college.
beautiful. Yep.
Yeah.
it
So
was
for me,
As an undersized D lineman.
if you're in this,
he had leverage.
and that's what he's been good at his
Footwork.
whole,
Yep,
literally
Elite.
Yep.
and a motor, right?
Yes.
But if you're in it for the long haul, you have to accept the fact as a fan, what you take away is the development of our young talent, right? Now, do we have the right scheme for Kirk Cousins if we're running the ball? Of course we do. The issue with the Vikings is when you have a bunch of smaller athletic linemen, because let's get one thing straight.
Mm-hmm.
The Vikings are number 1 in the NFL in rushing. That's right. Look it up, check it, fact check. The Minnesota Vikings, number 1. So it says that their line is geared to excel at zone blocking. I mean, what does Einstein say? Force equals mass multiplied by acceleration. So when you got a 300-pound guy running downfield, right, that's his strong suit. And that's why you got these guys who are fast offensive linemen. When you want them to drop back in coverage, they can do it. But what we've seen routinely over the past 2 years, interior linemen. We haven't found that guard, right?
Well, I was talking about this with Samia, specifically with him. The reason that Samia doesn't work in our offensive blocking scheme is because, yes, he can move laterally with athleticism and get to the spot, but when it comes time to engage, he can't block moving lateral. He needs to be moving north and south with his head down.
Good point.
In order to be able to block. That's the only way he can successfully block.
Let go into this, though, because a lot of people, when you watch highlights of an O-lineman, all you have to do in run block is get in the way for a second. Pass block, though, and that's why I wanted you to jump into it.
Timing and angles.
You have
honestly,
to make contact pass blocking.
If you just have that guy turned a certain way for a specific split second in the play, that's all you needed to do a lot of the times. Is just maintain that gap integrity.
Yeah,
quite often.
And that's the issue.
But so when you get all these really athletic offensive linemen who can move laterally in your run blocking schemes and stuff, quite often they don't possess that pass blocking anchor. Okay, they've got the footwork more often than not, and a lot of times they'll have the strength and the technique upper body wise, but they don't have that base anchor strength.
Yeah.
Or even a guy like Garrett Bradbury, you line a nose tackle like Kenny Clark right over his grill,
it's a problem,
and he is moved back 2 to 5 steps every play. Because he doesn't have that pass anchor, because that's not his strength.
So the Vikings,
that's not his strength.
So the Vikings' biggest issue right now is in this jigsaw puzzle, they have one piece that doesn't quite fit. If you take Kirk Cousins and put him on the Colts or the 49ers, right, a team that is geared to be able to pass the ball in third and long situations, Kirk has a pretty monster. He can put up numbers because what can he do? He can throw a ball.
Right.
Yes.
Right.
Kirk is excellent
Right.
at throwing.
And you can't take that away. But what you need in this type of offense is you need a running quarterback. And I don't mean a guy who can literally impose that idea, because you have to have a guy who can move in the pocket. That's what. Because think about it. When you have a quarterback out bootlegging, right? Now the O linemen are just kind of out in space to make sure they keep him from being compromised. You're not going to get that with Kurt, and that's fine, right? It just doesn't work in this situation. So the only way the Vikings succeed is to do what? Is to always have the threat to run. That's how you succeed in the Vikings offense.
And we can still have that with Madison today. Like, I don't feel like we're completely missing that.
What did you see last game?
That's what I mean, here's the thing is that's what I basically have here. I mean, I got a couple nuance notes, things to look out for. But you said they're going to have to be able to pass. I I think in order for them to win today, they have to grind the fucking run relentlessly. Use Madison, use Boone, who's going to get some time today, and Abdullah might even see the ball a little bit more, unless he's injured.
You can't be one-dimensional. Don't get me wrong when I say we need to pass more.
Hold on, hear me out though. Here's why I say this, because the fucking we talked about this before the podcast this morning. The Falcons have the same issue they had when they lost the Super Bowl 28-3. They have serious conditioning problems on the defensive side of the ball. The best way to exhaust a defense is to run the fucking football, especially when you have an undersized O-line, okay, that's not the strongest in the world, that struggles to get a 4th and 1, right, when it's critical. So you need to like bring that human element back into it and start physically exhausting these guys to knock them down a peg. Body blows, right? Now, here's why I say this. Because this team, their secondary is not that bad. They give up a lot, but it's when you're able to buy time for your quarterback and allow those downfield throws, which the Vikings we know aren't going to be able to do that. So the only way I see us winning this game, you guys, on the offensive side of the ball, is we got to grind the fucking ball or grind the run to tire them out. And then we got to do a lot of dink and dunk, short passes, screens, draws. If we do look downfield, it needs to be built off the play action and a built-in check down like we seen last week for Kirk Cousins.
Absolutely. I just want to expand on that because
we got a couple minutes and I got a couple more things I want to hit.
But to just expand it from, we need to control the game running the ball. We need to get first downs. That's how you move the chains, control the time of possession. Like you can't just run the ball.
We talked about this.
Have
great segue.
Result in first.
Okay, but here's why I say this, because this team, from what I've been able to see, the Falcons blitz more on first down than they do on third down. They blitz more on second down than they do on third down.
They're blitzing in run situations.
They're blitzing. They're blitzing early. Okay, to try to put you in third and long, which is where the Vikings aren't good. Now, specifically, both O-lines run, it appears to me to be the exact same O-line philosophy. It's a zone blocking scheme, slightly undersized guys. Their O-line's a little better than ours, especially at pass blocking. Now, I noticed one thing, and I think this is going to be key. So I'm actually talking about both offenses today and how the defenses beat both offenses. When Matt Ryan drops back in the pocket, you'll notice we talked about this before the podcast. You'll notice both guards in the center bunch up to protect the front. So Matt Ryan has a pocket to step up into, and then their tackles fade out for the edge rushers, and they use their one or two potential running backs to chip or pick up the extra blocker. On third down, they usually only rush 4 and leave everybody in coverage. So the key for both teams is going to be to blitz up the middle today. If you can blitz up the middle and not allow either of these quarterbacks to step up into the pocket and settle their feet, both of these quarterbacks will be inaccurate.
I was just going to say,
and they're both going to turn the ball over.
Well, okay.
Theirs is better at blitz. Here's my point. Theirs is better at doing it than ours is. Our O-line does not protect the middle. We don't bunch up and protect the front side of Kirk Cousins. So if they beat us today, which they shouldn't do, but they probably will, because they're going to get pressure in the middle of the line, and we're not, unless we can fucking survive the first half, keep the run going, back to what you said, body blows, and tire them out, and then stay remaining competitive into the fourth quarter, then we can win this fucking football game.
Atlanta's biggest issue, though.
They're going to be charged up today.
Atlanta's biggest issue is also, kind of plays, Minnesota's biggest issue plays into Atlanta's issue, and I think it'll help Atlanta. Going into the Houston game, I think Houston hadn't had the fewest pressures in the league at this point.
Sure.
They got to Kirk Cousins 4 times, right? The biggest issue for the Atlanta Falcons has been their inability to get a pass rush in the very conservative style cover 2, cover 3 schemes they run most often. So if you don't get any pressure, right, what do we see? We see them give up historical leads, right? Only one team in NFL history to score 39 points, not turn the ball over and lose. Atlanta Falcons, only team now. So that's a historical stat. The biggest issue that the Vikes have is, can you pass block? And I'm going to have to say no, because what we excel at when it comes to the run game, we don't want to see Kurt in empty shotgun, because that's not his strong suit.
So the weakest area of the Vikings pass blocking is in which part of their offensive line? The outside or the inside?
Inside.
Exactly. Best defensive lineman for the Atlanta Falcons is Grady Jarrett, defensive tackle.
Defensive tackle.
Okay. So if Grady Jarrett comes out and has a big game against the interior offensive lineman of the Vikings, don't be surprised if that happens, and that's going to result in a Falcons win.
And it should happen if we put ourselves in that situation.
If we can somehow scheme and
how that
execute
manifests
to control that front four, primarily Grady Jarrett.
Samia not starting, by the way.
Then now it's another story. Yep, Cleveland, I believe, is in for Samia, and then it should be another story. But that, like, if you want to look at like one specific player or matchup that really could just flat out win or lose for either team, it's that Grady Jarrett versus the interior.
So our weak
line
point
of the
plays
Vikings.
into.
And that's why I'm picking the Falcons as much as I don't want to and think the Vikings should and can win this game. I think the Falcons are going to do it.
Yeah, this could be a nasty game. I think one of those games for Kirk Cousins where, fans accept the fact that from a GM standpoint, you didn't exactly gear him with the right tools to succeed in the style of offense that he should be playing at. It's not Kirk Cousins' fault.
I can't be mad at Samia for sucking. That's who he's always been. He is who he is. Yeah. Like, I'm not mad at him for not being any
But
good.
he was also a part of an O-line that leads the league in total yards, right? So you can't – you got to take the good with the bad. The Vikings' strong point is they run the ball. They have to impose their will on the teams because that's what sets up Kirk for what is play action. His most comfortable pass is play action.
But when other teams know –
and isn't he the most accurate quarterback in the league off play action?
Crazy stats, crazy
something like that. He's like either number 1 or number 2 or number 3. I think he's number 1.
But most teams do know. But that's what imposing your will is about. Is teams know, but they can't stop it. So, and I don't know about you guys, but when I saw Madison last week, aside from the 4th and whatever he didn't get, he was running violent, and I loved it.
All right, that's it, guys. We got to wrap this up. Go ahead, make your last point.
There was a popular picture with Madison on that 4th and 1 going around the internet where it had the line to the open lane, running lane or whatever, trying to put all the blame on Madison's vision for not seeing the open hole. Give me 30 seconds when he's done. You know what I also see in that picture? Drew Samia flat on his back and O'Neal having lost gap integrity.
Exactly.
So that's
O'Neal is regressed this year, by the way.
It's false to put that play on Madison. If that's what you get out of looking at that picture, then there's a lot more for you to learn when analyzing
and Brian O'Neal has regressed this season.
I don't know. He's still playing pretty good.
He is, but he's not playing as well as he did last year.
I want to add something really quick.
Agreed.
To all the casual fans, especially wives who, when you watch the game, we think of the game as being very simplistic. For instance, if you're watching the game with your wife who doesn't watch football, the guy runs up the middle and she says, "Why didn't he just run to the outside?" And we all struggle to really answer that very simple question to a novice. It all is supposed to work when you execute the play accordingly, and that play on 4th and 1 wasn't executed the way it should have been. Guys were on their back by multiple people.
Just by one
so
play.
Madsen, this was a 4th and 1. It isn't 4th and wiggle because if he got tackled and lost for 1, we'd be all criticized. Why didn't you just run straight? At the end of the day, it comes down to execution. We didn't execute, and Seahawks did. And I think we'll see a lot of that this game too.
Who are you taking?
Yeah.
Atlanta. I don't think Kirk Cousins.
Atlanta.
Yeah.
The Vikings should win this game, but I'm also taking Atlanta for all the reasons we mentioned through this podcast. I think the emotional side, they teams always come fired up when their coach gets fired. So we got the emotional human element. Yeah. We just broke it down schematically. Specifically, all these things that you're going to see manifest are going to come in the middle of the O-line for both teams. If the Vikings can get penetration,
outside is where it'll come from for them.
Yep.
Well,
Caleb McGarry.
That's where it's going to come from, but I don't think that's going to help. We got to collapse the front of the pocket. Don't allow Matt Ryan to step up. If we want to try to isolate them, we got to put up. Literally, we got to go man to man on the defensive line. That's the other way you beat the zone blocking scheme is you go 5 rushers on 5 linemen because it forces them to go man to man. The zone blocking scheme, from my understanding, it's all about creating double teams and triple teams. So at the end of the day, if you don't allow that by matching man up, that's how you can do that. That's how you prevent those 3 guys from bunching up and creating that pocket for Matt to step up in. So let's see if Zimmer decides to employ that with the 5 down linemen, match them up one-on-one, and then stunt a guy coming over the top. That's how you get into those gaps. The Vikes should win, but I don't see it happening. We got to wrap this up. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you like this, subscribe, like,
Skull
share.
Vikes.
Skull Vikings.
Feel free to check back in and see how we did on our predictions, guys. Have a good one. Enjoy your football.
Yeah, this Atlanta
That was
game.
fucking great. Dude,
That was fun, dude.
and that was exactly like 3 hours where we would have been to 8 if we would have just been